Hey everyone, Sam Ovens here, and welcome to this training module called Ninja Shit. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell sort of title is that for a training? What am I going to learn in this thing? And, what could we possibly cover, or what could we possibly learn that we haven't already learned inside UpLevel's Facebook training so far? And the truth is that, the modules which you've seen so far in the UpLevel training for Facebook ads, that is more than enough. If you just master the stuff you've already seen, that's enough to take you to multiple millions of dollars in revenue per year and just run laps around your competition, just non-stop, right? That stuff is more than enough to get you there. However, I wanted to do this for fun and to also just show you how far you can really take mastery of something. It's one thing to run ads, it's another thing to run them profitably, it's another to spend, $1 million a month or more on ads, but then, it's another thing to show you these things which you're about to learn. And my goal with showing you this is to really open your eyes so that you can see how far you can optimize a system and master it. Because I'm going to show you this for Facebook ads, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do and all of the hacks. However, you can apply this sort of thinking to any system, not just Facebook ads. And so my goal with showing you this is to teach you a way of thinking and analyzing, as well as teach you how to do this with Facebook ads. But my goal is that you'll be able to take this and apply it to other systems and areas in your life so that you can develop total mastery. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to start off by going inside the mind of the Facebook machine. And what I mean by that is really understanding the algorithm that runs Facebook's ads and its content delivery system. So why does it show this thing to that person? How does it make that decision? And what are the formulas and equations that this Facebook algorithm uses to decide all of these different things? It's a very complex, sophisticated machine. And if we're going to master it, we have to understand how it thinks. And then once we understand how it thinks, I'm going to show you how to play with the extremes. And this is a fascinating thing which you're going to learn. And really, machines don't understand extremes the way human beings do. And I'm going to show you how we can play with extremes to really get the algorithm to start humming. And then I'm going to show you a bunch of different biases that the Facebook algorithm has. So because the Facebook algorithm thinks and it makes decisions, it has biases, it has preferences, which it weights greater than others. And we need to understand what those are so that we can not trigger the bad things, and that we can absolutely trigger and unleash hell on the things it likes. And these things are, first of all, an engagement bias. So obviously, Facebook's algorithm loves it when there's engagement on stuff. Then a lexical sentiment bias. And this is basically where their algorithm can read the words inside your posts and your ads and see if it can understand them or how happy or sad they are. And, it gives preference to different things. Then this will fascinate you, and I'm going to show you how it works. Then graphical sentiment bias. And this will pretty much blow your mind, but, Facebook's algorithm can also crawl images. Every image you're putting into your Facebook ads, every image you're posting on Facebook, the machine is looking at your images, and it can see what's in them. And I'm going to show you an actual example of this, so you first of all believe me, and you can see what it does. And then once you understand how it works, I'm going to show you how to play to this. I'm going to show you the sorts of things that the algorithm likes to see in images, what things it has a bias towards. And this is fascinating stuff. And then I'm going to show you financial bias. Facebook is a company. Companies like making money. And Facebook's algorithm does have a bias for money. And I'm going to show you how you can signal money to Facebook so that you can really make it dance. And then consistency momentum bias. Facebook's algorithm, trust is a very important thing. The last thing Facebook wants to do is burn its users by doing something sketchy or delivering some advertiser to its user base, and that advertiser was, sketchy. And so Facebook is very big on trust, and how trust is earned is with consistency. And with consistency comes trust, and then the reward of which is momentum and extra delivery. And I'm going to show you how this works and how you can, signal consistency and trust to the Facebook algorithm. And then I'm going to show you, how to take your tracking to the next level. So it's one thing to just use Google Tag Manager and just slap the Facebook pixel into a container and put it on your landing page. It's another thing to let your Facebook track people even if they're in incognito, even if they're using Safari, even if they're using ad blocker, and basically being able to track everyone, everywhere, and really, give your Facebook X-ray vision. And I'm going to show you how that works and how you can implement it today. And then finally, the inside man advantage. So, a lot of the things which we're covering here are technical, digital things, which you can do to really get the algorithm to give you preference in advertising. However, the final one is actually a human advantage. And here I show you why some employees inside Facebook are very important towards helping you win with your Facebook ads. So once you're spending a lot of money, you can get a Facebook rep, and reps can do things to your accounts to really help you gain an edge. And I'm going to show you how all of that works. So we've got a lot to cover today. Let's jump right into it. So inside the mind of the Facebook machine. So Facebook is a system. It's a complex machine built of interconnected parts. And like all systems, Facebook has inputs, processes, outputs, feedback, and environments. And we need to understand the nature of the machine if we want to master it. Now, Facebook's brain is a machine, an algorithm that makes billions of rapid decisions all the time. And while the machine isn't human, it was created and is still updated by humans. And those human intents, the intent of the humans that designed it, built it, and still to this day maintain it, are inherited by the machine. And Facebook's intent is to survive. And it does this by keeping users on its platform. And to do this, it needs to keep users engaged. And to do this, it needs to provide a good user experience. And by doing this, it can sell ads, make money, and grow. So that's what Facebook's intent is. It's to survive. First of all, it wants to make sure it maintains what it's got, and then its ambition is to grow, even bigger than what it is. So when you can understand the intent of Facebook, you can understand the intent of the algorithm that's kind of running everything. And Facebook's eyes are the input of data, or the inputs of data that feed the brain so that it can make decisions which serve its intent. And to master Facebook, you start by understanding its intent, then how it makes decisions to serve its intent, then the heuristics and parameters it uses to make those decisions, then the data inputs it uses to run those heuristics. Right? You want to understand these things. Once you understand these things, you know what to do so that you can do this and expect that, and it just works. So here's what this looks like. Here's what Facebook ads and the Facebook platform looks like when we set it up like a system diagram. And so over here we have the inputs which we put into the system. And these are users, posts and ads, campaigns and budgets. So these are different inputs, and of course there are way more than these. These are just some of them, which I've selected to help illustrate my point here. So these are the inputs that come in, and then there are processes that run in the machine, and this is what we refer to as Facebook's brain or the algorithm, and it runs processes. And to really figure out how to run these processes, it uses things called heuristics. And a heuristic is basically a rule of thumb or a bias that it uses to make things simpler for itself. And so if it's trying to decide who do I show, what should I show out of advertiser A and advertiser B, it will use a heuristic to determine that and quickly make a rapid decision. And it's trying to figure out, the algorithm is trying to figure out, show what to who, when and how often, and then should we accelerate it or slow the delivery? And is this advertiser safe or risky? Should we trust them or not trust them? Right? It's trying to do a whole bunch of things, billions of them all the time. And then we have outputs. And this is the result of the inputs coming in with the processes applied to them. And the outputs are results and, the things that we get. And this is things like reach. So how much of our audience do we reach? Impressions, how many people do we serve impressions with? Then clicks, how many clicks do we get to our landing page or our funnel, which is also traffic, and conversions, like how many people actually buy or register or whatever. And then we have feedback. And feedback is it's basically the feedback mechanism that comes from the output and feeds back into the input so that it can, it'll come back and attach to this input so that the input is different when it comes back in again. So even if you add, if you create an ad and you put it in, then it's going to have processes applied to it and output's going to come out like impressions, clicks, and whatever. But then that output's going to feed back around and change your input again. And so even though it's the same ad, the output is coming back and feeding back into that input. Now let me give you a perfect example. You create an ad, you put it in and it starts working and, lots of people like it, it starts getting conversions and you get a relevant score of like 9 or 10. Well, but that output of, people liking it and clicking the like button, commenting, sharing, and all of these things, and clicking the link, that creates a quality score a relevant score of like 9 or 10, and then that comes back around and it attaches that to the ad, and then it comes back in and it's got an advantage. So that's how feedback works. And it can rapidly accelerate and improve your ad, or it can rapidly throttle and, harm your ad based on the feedback that comes back around with it. And feedback can be things like attention. So if someone's scrolling through their newsfeed and they see your ad and they pause on it and hover on it, that's attention. And then likes and comments. So if people are clicking like on it and commenting, sharing, clicking the link and converting, these all basically feed into different performance metrics. And then we have the environment, and every system operates within an environment. There's no such thing as a system within a vacuum that's totally independent and airlocked from the outside world and influences. And, Facebook's the same. It has political, legal, and financial things that are going on. So, investors might be expecting money, then Facebook's got to make money. Legal things might change, like the GDPR, the political winds might shift, and, now privacy is a big concern, and, we've seen this a lot with Facebook. And it does affect what happens in this thing. And then we have competition and technology. So, as Facebook has new competitors, like what YouTube might do, or AdWords, or Snapchat, what all these different things might do, it might affect Facebook. And also competition that we face. If there's a lot of people using Facebook and advertising, then, that changes the environment too. Same with the technological advancements, things like that, and popularity and demand. So all of these different things are going on all the time, every thousandth of a second, billions of things going on across this network. And this algorithm here at the heart of it, it has to decide basically everything. And understanding how this thing works is really the key to mastering Facebook, because this is the thing that makes all the decisions. The times have changed. Back in the old days, if you wanted to run an ad on the TV or in a newspaper, you called up that newspaper and you would say, hey, I want to run my ad, and they would choose whether you're allowed to run your ad or not. And then they'd basically choose where you got put in the newspaper, how often it ran, and all of that. And so a human made all of these decisions. But today, with most online advertising, it's not humans making these decisions. It's an algorithm, and it's making billions of decisions all the time. And so just like you might build a relationship with a human to get advertising advantages back in the day, if you were buying print ads or whatever, you want to really build a relationship with the machine so that it can give you some advantages. Basically, things are the same. It's just a machine instead of a human. And like a human, it thinks. And like a human, it has biases. And like a human, it likes people that confirm its biases. So, let's understand this thing. So it starts with its intent. Like a human, it has intent. And intent is what it really wants overall. And its intent is to balance all variables in order to survive and grow. So it's looking at all of the stuff that's coming in, all the outputs, all the feedback, the environmental changes, and it's running all of these processes, and it's just trying to balance things so that it can survive. That's its most important intent, survive. Second one, grow. And so that overall, that's what it's trying to do. And if its intent is to survive and grow, and its decisions are things like show what to who, when and how often, and should we accelerate this delivery or slow it, and is this advertiser safe or risky? It's trying to make all of these decisions. And how it's really going to make these decisions is things that serve its intent. So just like a human, if a human has a goal, then a human's got to make decisions, and those decisions are going to be heavily influenced by its goal. And it's basically going to make decisions that are aligned with its goal. But it also has to balance these things because, if it's very complicated, because if it just wanted to make money, it could go crazy and just start giving advertisers all of the stuff. But remember, it has to at the same time balance its users, because if its users get pissed off and leave, then there's no one to show ads to, and if there's no one to show ads to, then there'll be no advertisers. So it really has to balance these things. It's like we have to keep our users on, keep them happy, deliver a good user experience, but also make money, and also grow, and also survive, and also, make sure that we're helping these advertisers get results so they keep advertising. So it's very complicated, and it's doing this for billions of people all the time. It's an insane job. No human being could do it, and that's why it is the job of an algorithm. And obviously it can't make perfect decisions because it doesn't have all the information necessary. It can't call people. It can't go and interview people and do all of that. So to do that, it has to use heuristics. And heuristics are basically rules of thumb, and they're ways that you can make a decision fast just using a mental model or a rule of thumb or something like that. And it's not perfect. It means that you're not going to make a perfect decision, but you're going to make a near perfect decision very quickly. And that's what Facebook's algorithm uses. It uses a ton of heuristics. And heuristics would look like, if this, then that. So let me give you an example. So if lots of people like this ad and comment on it and share it, then, quality score equals, 9, or quality score equals 10 or whatever. And then this signals that. So if quality score or relevant score equals 10, then that signals that, this ad should be given preference in the auction pools, and it should also be given additional reach, right? Now, whether that ad is actually liked by people and whether that ad should really be given more reach and more preference in auctions, we don't know. But Facebook will use that heuristic to basically take that action. And most of the time, it probably is right. But some of the time, it probably isn't. And these things can either serve you if you know how they work, or they can harm you if you don't know how they work. And it's very important to understand them. And it might also weight the importance of something, 80%, and then this thing, 5%. And for example, it might weight a comment as, let's say it weights a comment or a share at 80%. I know shares are weighted the highest. And then comes comments, and then comes likes, right? And so a like might be 5%. And then tolerate up to this threshold might be another heuristic. So, tolerate this many trigger words before disapproving ad, and tolerate this many ad disapprovals before banning account, and tolerate this many banned accounts before banning fan page and business manager. All right. So it has all of these tolerances built into it, and it also has biases. So, a bias is just a preference of one side of a scale versus another. And so, somebody might prefer, like a human being's bias might be to prefer nighttime over daytime, right? That's not necessarily true that people should all prefer that over that, but it's just a bias. And machines have biases too, and they look like this in machine logic, like value this more than that. So it might be, value credit card payments more than PayPal payments, which is true. It actually does have a bias towards credit cards versus PayPal in terms of payment methods, and then give preference to this. So, if somebody has more history of ad spend and they're coming up against you in an auction, then Facebook will use a bias and give preference to the person with the most historical spend. It also might have a bias saying throttle this. So if an ad or a post receives, so many negative complaints, or don't show this ad feedback requests, then it might throttle the delivery and stop giving it additional reach. And another one might be accelerate this. So if lots of people are clicking like in the sentiment of the comments they're posting, and if different people who have more influence start commenting and sharing, then Facebook might be like, all right, this looks like one of those things that people really like and can really help us. So it just starts rushing the delivery to it. And then it might have another one, which is like, trust this, don't trust that. So trust, it might trust certain keywords, and it might not trust other keywords, or it might trust certain domains and not other domains. And so really, to understand the Facebook brain and the algorithm is to first start with its intent. Remember, it's trying to balance everything to survive and grow. And remember, it has to cover two sides there. It has to look after the businesses. It also has to look after its users. And if it can look after its users and the businesses, then it looks after itself. So it's always trying to balance those things. And when you're using it, you have to keep that in mind. Sometimes I see a lot of advertisers and they just behave like Facebook doesn't care about the users that are seeing the ads, which is crazy. And so they end up getting themselves in trouble. They just think, oh, I'm just here to use this thing and just be aggressive and sell stuff. And it doesn't work, because if the users get pissed, then Facebook won't let you even advertise. And so you need to make sure the users are happy, but also you're not just there to entertain, you're also to get customers. So it's a balance, what you're doing. It's a balance of looking after the users, adding value to them, but also being direct and aggressive enough so that you get a response. So it's very nuanced in there. And you need to understand how Facebook's algorithm makes its decisions using heuristics and, the biases that are present within all of this behavior. And don't worry if this sounds complicated. I'm going to make it dead simple and show you what all of these things are in this training module. So influencing the machine. Now, we can't change the machine's heuristics and biases. but we can change its inputs. And you can feed it the inputs it prefers, so it makes the decisions you prefer it to make, so that you can get the outputs you desire. So, we can't go into Facebook and plug our laptop into it and just start changing the weightings of the different algorithms and its decision-making criteria. We can't do that. And so, in order to influence Facebook, if we can't change those things, then we ask ourselves, how can we change the inputs that we give it to change the outputs it gives us so that things are more preferential and better for us so that we can do better? And I'm going to show you how to do this in this module. And in this module, I'm going to show you how the machine thinks and what to feed it so that you can make things go boom. And by boom, I mean, really make this thing start climbing up additional gears and really getting into the performance zones that it can get to. And to get into those zones and to start getting to that next level, you have to play to the algorithm's biases. Now, playing with the extremes. So humans and extremes. So humans are skeptical when they're presented with extremes. And if somebody is overly happy, we think, oh, that person's strange. And if something is really good, we think, oh, it's too good to be true, right? We human beings, our heuristics, they have too much warning signals. So if something's too much of a good thing, then we start to be skeptical and we're like, oh, something's going on here, something's wrong. But machines are different. And machines and extremes. So machines don't understand too much of a good thing. And if something is programmed into the machine as good, and they receive an extreme signal of good, they consider that to be preferable, or, more good. They don't really understand when there's too much of something. And they can be programmed to understand when there's too much of something, but most of the time, most algorithms aren't really programmed to do this. And a classic example would be like the Google search algorithm, right? So back in the day, not even, I guess it was quite a while ago, but still not that long ago, really, like five years or something like that, people figured out that if you put the keyword you were trying to optimize for multiple times throughout the text in your page, that Google's algorithm would favor it and show you if someone searched for that keyword. For example, if someone searched for the keyword Sam Ovens and I had a page that had Sam Ovens 100 times on it, then it would rank better than other pages that have the keyword Sam Ovens less. And so that's how a lot of people started getting hacking traffic from Google, by just doing keyword stuffing. However, once Google started to catch on, it changed that, and it now is much more sophisticated. But there's still ways to really, get Google's search algorithm to give you traffic by playing with extremes. And with Facebook, there's still tons of ways to get it to favor you and give you traffic by playing with extremes. There are still tons of them. Because it's not as blatant as the Google AdWords, the Google search algorithm one. It's very simple and blatant to think, if someone's searching for this keyword, then I should include this keyword multiple times on this page, right? You can see how people came to that conclusion pretty quickly and how Google shut it down pretty quickly. But with Facebook, it's nowhere near that blatant. Most of the things that Facebook's algorithm likes, people aren't aware of, and if they are aware of them, they're not sure how to manufacture them and provide them to extreme levels. So it's very different, and that's good if you know what to do. And all or nothing. So machines have an all or nothing tendency, and most content gets no reach on the internet. Most people's posts, most people's photos, they get nothing. Barely anyone looks. And some content goes viral for the entire world to see. And I'm sure you've seen this too. Like, how come some things just get seen by everyone in the entire world, and the vast majority of things just really don't get anything? Well, that is because machines have an all or nothing tendency. And those all or nothing tendencies are triggered by extremes. And with machines, neutral gets you nowhere, and extreme goes viral. So remember that. Neutral, nowhere, extreme, viral. And understand that machines have this all or nothing kind of tendency. So biases plus extremes. The key is to understand the machine's biases and then feed it extreme inputs of things it considers good, and avoid feeding it inputs it considers bad. And this is how machines fall in love. If a machine has a preference for this thing and it doesn't like this other thing, and if you just keep giving it the things it loves and you give it none of the things it doesn't love, then it's going to fall in love. And humans are very similar too. And so that's how it works. And when it falls in love, it's going to treat you well. It's going to give you lots of traffic, good prices, preference over the competition, lots of reach, and the best traffic at the best times. It's just going to give you everything. So we need to understand what these extremes are and how we can use them. So knowing where to push. Facebook's algorithm has biases towards the following things. And our strategy is to satisfy the machine's biases by feeding it extreme amounts of the inputs it considers good. And, I'll add to that, we try to limit the amount of things that it perceives as bad. And when we get a huge weighting on the good side and not that much on the bad, it's just going to go for it. And the different things are, these are the different biases that we're going to play to. Engagement bias, lexical sentiment bias, graphical sentiment bias, financial bias, consistency, momentum bias, next level tracking, and inside man advantage. So that's what these things are. These are going to be the tools that you use. And now let's jump into them and cover each one. So engagement bias. So Facebook loves engagement. It wants users to be on the platform as much as possible. And to do this, users must be engaged. And to do this, the algorithm serves impressions to engaging content and ads. Now, what is engagement? It's a word, but how is it really defined when it comes to the algorithm? How does the algorithm see engagement? So engagement is a measure of human attention and interaction with a post or an ad. And the algorithm starts measuring engagement by people slowing down when scrolling past your ad, and then hovering over it, and then pausing and reading it, and then interacting by liking, sharing, or commenting on it, and then clicking it. So, most people don't understand that Facebook is able to understand how much people like your ad just as soon as when people start slowing down in their newsfeed when they see your ad. So it doesn't need to wait until someone actually goes all the way and clicks. It starts knowing pretty much immediately as soon as people start slowing down where their mouse hovers over the screen. And then if they start reading it, it can start sensing all of these things. Then a mouse hovering over it. Then actually reading the whole thing, then interacting, and then clicking. It reads all of these things. And the combination of all of these things, it's able to determine how much people like it and how engaged people are with it. And the more engaged people are with it, the more love Facebook's going to give it. Now, it's one thing to understand it, but how do we cause engagement? Or if we've already got something engaging, how do we make it more engaging? And so humans run pattern recognition processes when scanning their newsfeed. and they look for things that serve or threaten their own personal interests, or anything out of the ordinary way that they see life. Humans are basically just going to Facebook and scrolling through there to looking for things that are going to help them serve their goal, or also threaten, their goal, and also things that are just out of the ordinary. Basically, a human being is looking for, all right, make sure there's no threats. If there's any things that can help me, let's consume them. And also, let's make sure that there's nothing kind of out of place here. That's basically what's going on in your brain. Even if you don't think so consciously, unconsciously you're doing that. It hasn't changed much since the old days when we were doing this in our environment by scanning the landscape, looking for a partner, or that might have been what we were looking for, or looking for food or things to eat or things to drink, and then threats, dangerous animals, and then also things out of the ordinary, like, hey, what's that doing over there? And then creating engaging ads. Well, back to causes of engagement for a sec. So when something, really serves our interests, it gets engagement. When something really threatens our interests, it gets engagement. And when something is out of the ordinary, it gets engagement. So those are the triggers. Now, how do we create engaging ads? So to create engaging ads, you must understand the minds of the people in your market. And once you understand these things, you can create engagement by inverting popular belief, countering culture, polarizing opinion, exposing corruption, extreme truth and transparency, and disrupting existing and established order, etc. So let me explain these things a bit. So, inverting popular belief would be like finding something that is believed to be true and just turning it upside down, just inverting it, right? Now, one extreme example of this might be like the flat earth theory, right? So people who say the earth's flat. Now, because that totally inverts our understanding of the earth, it really causes a ruckus, especially on the internet. That's why that thing has such massive momentum, and it gets so many views, and it goes viral on the internet because it inverts popular belief. And that's an example of it. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to invert popular belief and be right at the same time, because we don't want to invert popular belief and be wrong, because then we're just going to cause a big ruckus, and then everyone's going to think that we're an idiot, or they're going to hate us, and then we're going to get kicked off Facebook. So when I say these things, we have to try to invert popular beliefs, but we have to be right in what we say. Now, let me give you an example, because I'm talking conceptually here, and you might be like, Sam, this is a theory, give me an actual thing. So, one thing I talk about a lot is, deleting social media, getting rid of it, how it's actually, it doesn't cause you to get results, it actually makes you fail, and that you shouldn't use it. And that's basically inverting popular belief in my market. Most people in my market just say, follow me on this, post 1 million times, Gary V's out there telling doctors to basically, don't serve your patients, don't hone your craft, don't get better at being a doctor, don't save any lives, just go sit on your phone and look at hashtags and just try to post and get people following your hashtags, right? That's basically what the popular belief is. And so I just invert that, because by inverting that, one, it's controversial and it gets engagement, but two, it's actually true. So I get to win with that one. So you're looking for things that you can invert, cause a ruckus, but be right about. Now, countering culture, that's kind of going against, the way that culture is. So if everyone's putting Lamborghinis in their damn ads, I'm not going to put a Lamborghini in my ad, and, I might instead put like a scooter or a Hyundai or something in my ad, just to go totally against it, because that sort of stuff gets attention. And it is probably more true, that you don't actually need a Lamborghini to actually solve problems for people and like help people and make a lot of money. And then polarizing opinion. So, whatever the public opinion is, you can just polarize it. And exposing corruption. So you're saying, this is what everyone wants you to believe and this is why it's wrong. And then extreme truth. So you could really tell a story that, about an experience you've had or something like that, that's extremely transparent and true to the point that it shocks people, right? And then disrupting existing order. That's basically when, you don't really respect the authority of, or the established order of your market or your industry, and you start disrupting it by pulling into question why people are above other people and why, people should start questioning things and basically just causing a big ruckus. And the key is to cause a ruckus for the good of the people. Otherwise, you're just going to get yourself into a lot of trouble, right? These are dangerous tools here. These are tools that start revolutions. And you don't just go around using them just for the sake of making a ruckus, because you certainly will cause one and you might even get yourself killed. So you've got to be careful with these things and you've got to use them for the right reasons. You've got to be right with it. And the real magic, the magic combination of this, is to be extreme, controversial, and true. And this is the best combination for engaging ads because it causes controversy and, most importantly, it gets away with it because it's helpful for people to understand truth regardless of how hard it is to swallow. So, if you cause a bit of controversy in your ad, but your overall message is good for people and it's actually helping people, and by countering the thing or inverting the thing that you did, you were more right than the status quo, then people will, you won't just have a bunch of hate, you'll have a little bit of hate, but you'll also have people who really get it and they're like, yeah, this is true, and thinks it's hard to swallow this, but it is true, right? And that's good, that's important. You need to have both sides of this. And also, you will have Facebook on your side too, because you're not just out there trying to make a ruckus, you're not using hate speech, or you're not causing mayhem for no good reason. And so then the people like your ad, you're doing good for the people too, and Facebook's algorithm's going to like your ad, and people inside of Facebook, if they manually review it, they'll like it too. So that's the key. Now, these are hard to get all in one thing, but practice makes perfect. Now, how can you actually create engagement in your ads? What are some tricks to doing this? Well, the first one is don't look like an ad. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but people don't actually like ads. They actually hate them. So if people don't like ads, don't make your ads look like ads. That's a dumb move. That's like, that's like thinking, somebody likes meat. Let's say somebody's a vegetarian and they don't like meat. So let's just serve them meat. It's not a good idea. They're not going to like that. It's as simple as that. And so if people don't like ads, your ads shouldn't look like ads. They're still ads, but they shouldn't go out of their way to look like them. And what you want to do is you want to look at the ads serving your market and do everything you can to not look like them. Because people run a pattern recognition process for seeing if something's an ad or not. So, if let's say in my market, everyone runs ads like next to Lamborghinis and stuff, and so then people, as soon as they see someone doing that, they're like, that's an ad, so ignore. But then if something doesn't fall for that same pattern where there's a Lamborghini or something in it, then somebody doesn't catch it, and it gets through their kind of like their barrier. and it gets their attention now because they're not just auto-blocking it. And so it's important to understand that, like, what ads look like to the market that's seeing them from all of your competitors, and then to purposefully and deliberately not look like them so that you can infiltrate. Very powerful trick. And of course, it's still going to say sponsored on your Facebook ad, right? You can't get rid of that. But it doesn't matter about that. Most people are actually detecting what's an ad and what's not way before they really look at the sponsored thing or not. They're doing it using much more advanced processes. And you can get past that. And then you want to look like a friend's post. So Facebook is for people to learn about other people. And what you want to do is you want to make your ads look like friends' posts. And you want to write as if you're writing to the individual person who's reading that thing. And avoid corporate speak, and you want to get personal. You want to evoke emotion. So humans engage with emotion. So you want to create shock and awe, you want to agitate, you want to trigger anger through truth, you want to tell stories, show vulnerability and humility, and let people know who you are and build a relationship. So you're not writing this as a business, you're writing this as a human, and the person on the other end is a human. People totally screw this up when they think they're B2B. So they're like, oh, I'm a business and I'm selling to a business. So let's talk like I'm a business and this other business is going to be reading this. And they just write the most horrid piece of text I've ever seen in my life that really doesn't appeal to anybody, because I don't know if anybody has realized this, but businesses aren't on Facebook searching. A business can't search. A business isn't alive. So people use Facebook. People read things. People click on things. And so we're talking to people. And we ourselves, we're a person. So it's a person to a person. It's not B2B, it's P2P. And you want to get into this frame of mind and picture the person and how they might read through it and their reactions and responses to things. And that will help you build and write a better ad. And be human, look human. So humans engage with humans. Wow. That's very insightful, isn't it? You know, humans engage with humans. This is a no-brainer. This is so obvious. You know, if you put a human by themselves in a room and you just give them like a cog and, you know, a can, like they're not going to be very happy. But you put them with another human and now they're really engaged and interested in stuff. So humans like humans. So advertise using a person fan page. And what I mean by this is, like, if you're advertising, advertise as yourself. You should have like a personal fan page. Now, business fan pages can work too, but from everything I've tested and seen with other people too, personal fan pages work really well. They work better because people are on Facebook and people like seeing posts from people. And if you've got a business fan page that you've always been using, I would suggest creating a personal one too and just testing it next to it, and I bet you it works better. Now, with your personal fan page, you should use your headshot as the profile picture because people will see that, and people expect to see a photo of a face there, and they expect that face to be you, and they expect you and that face to be named with those words that are the name of the fan page. Right? These are just simple things that make you look like a human. And include yourself and others in the image of your ad. So, you know, we call our fan page like Sam Ovens, and with that fan page in the profile picture, there's a photo of me. And so then people can put a face to a name and they're like, okay, this must be Sam Ovens. This is what he looks like. And then as they start reading it, they're like, oh, he must have written this. This is that guy whose face I can see, whose name is Sam Evans, writing this thing. Now they can start forming an image in their mind as they read, which is the magic of words. You know, it's not the words themselves, it's the image people visualize in their mind as they read. That's the piece that does the work, not the words. And so you need to be aware of what things create this image people see in their minds as they read. And when people read those boring B2B corporate, like, vomit ads, they don't see any image in their brain because there is none. And so that's why those ads work so bad. But all good, captivating things allow people to visualize as they read. And by including images of you in your ads, people further are able to build a relationship with you and visualize you. And you should also include other things and people that are important to you and your life. Things like, it might be your girlfriend, your wife, your son, might be you playing sport, might be you, working at your desk, just things that are actually you and make you, include them. These things help. And then this one is a powerful one. Tell the truth. So humans are incredibly perceptive and can tell what's true regardless of how well you mask it. And don't pose for your photos. Have somebody take them when you're being you without you knowing or posing for the photo. Because photographers know this well. Like when you're photographing someone, you want them to just be themselves and just pretend like the camera isn't there. And then the photographer can really capture the essence and the moments and everything. And those, they look so much better. And then when you try to pose, it just looks so awkward and fake. So that's a good trick. And also for ad images, you want to look at images that were taken of you just by, your wife or girlfriend or partner or boyfriend or husband, just when you were doing normal things and you weren't expecting to take this photo as an ad, but use it as an ad. Those things work really well. And it's amazing, how good humans are at perceiving the truth, like in anything. People have very good perception of this, and it runs subconsciously. It's not consciously. So in the conscious, when someone's analyzing it, they can only really see what they're seeing and make the judgments they're making, but there's something that's going on subconsciously that really, like, something doesn't add up, or a person is really skeptical, or they've got a bad feeling. That's the thing that's detecting stuff that isn't true. And it's very good. It's exceptional at it. And so you want, if you're, we don't try to make it look like we're telling the truth. You just tell the truth. And that is so much more effective. One, it's easy. It's easy as hell because you just don't have to make anything up. You just say exactly as it is. But then it works so damn well. So while other people are trying their hardest to fake it, and with each ounce of fakery that they're putting in, which is a huge effort, comes worse results, you can try not very hard at all and get amazing results just by telling the truth. And when you do this, you'll look less impressive, but people will engage with it 10 times more because they can tell it's true. So example, if I had an ad, next to, like, say 20 Lamborghinis that weren't mine, then people would probably see right through that and just, it wouldn't work. The ad wouldn't work and people would just be racked up in the comments. And then the ad would probably get banned and then my whole account probably gone. All right? But instead, if I just had like a photo of me on a scooter, like, on one of those bird scooters that I ride around here in Venice, then because that's true, it's probably way more likely to work. Now, I look certainly less impressive on a bird scooter, which you can rent for $1, compared to standing in front of like $25 million worth of Lamborghinis. But because one's true, it just works way better. And it's way cheaper too. So that's what you should do. Just whatever the truth is, just capture that and then tell it in your ads too. And another one is don't delete negative comments. So this is another true, you're telling the truth thing. Negative comments, it's normal to have people that take a negative point of view from your ad or post. That is normal. It's actually weird when there isn't any negative comments. So you want to leave them there. And, you should be getting about a balance 50-50 between people who like your stuff and people who don't like your stuff. And if you're getting, like 60-40 or 70-30 or 80-20 negative, yeah, you need to, you're doing something wrong there. it should generally come as about, 50-50, and that's when you generally get it right. And when you've got it balanced like that, you want to just leave them. Leave both sides of the argument there, leave both sides fighting each other, because all of that energy that they're putting in just fuels the fire of the ad. So just let it go and use it. I honestly love it when people start going at each other in the comments. I don't reply to anything, I don't pay attention to anything, I don't even read them. I just use all of that human potential energy to just fuel my ad. And they're doing it. So good on them. Now, there's a type of ad and a style of ad that really plays to these things, and it really gets good engagement on Facebook. And it's something that I called, something that I named Trojan horse ads. And Trojan horse ads are ads carefully designed so that they get attention, look personal, not like an ad, come as a gift, get accepted, draw the reader in at the right moment, make a pitch, and then a call to action. So pretty much the same strategy as the Trojan horse strategy that was executed, way back in time. The Trojan horse story where they basically assembled a massive giant horse and left it outside the gates of the enemy's castle, and the enemy they looked out and saw this massive horse and thought, what the hell is this thing? It looks like a gift or something. So they sent some soldiers out to assess it, and they were like, it just looks like a big giant horse. So then they thought, all right, well, let's just wheel this big giant horse inside our gates and just bring it into the heart of our castle, because we wouldn't want to leave this gift out in the rain out there. And then they wheeled this thing in, and then all these soldiers came out of the horse and then attacked everyone, and then they won. Genius strategy. Whoever thought of that back then, there's some serious next level strategy. But we can use similar line of thinking for creating our Facebook ads, because most people's Facebook ads look like armed uniformed soldiers beating on the doors of the castle. They look like ads so blatantly. They're literally screaming, I'm an ad, let me in. And obviously no one's going to let that in. So you don't look like that. You got to come as a gift so people accept you and bring you in. They let their guard down. But there's all these different things that we have to achieve in sequential order to really create the ultimate Trojan horse ad. So number one is to get attention. So nothing gets attention like something out of the normal or out of the norm. And you want to be relevant but out of place. So, for example, with the Trojan horse strategy back in the day, like a massive giant wooden horse, no one had ever seen one of those things before. And when one of those is sitting out there, people kind of it takes their attention. They're looking out from their castle walls, and they probably just are used to seeing mountains and fields and maybe a little river and maybe a bird, right? And then one day there's a giant horse there. People aren't going to be able to just let that one go. It's going to steal their attention. And so you want to think like that too in the modern day on the Facebook ads landscape. So how are you going to get people's attention? If it's you've got to remember what the landscape looks to your audience. If they're just seeing people in front of Lamborghinis, and then you just look like a person in front of a Lamborghini, you're just going to look like a soldier, and people aren't going to let you in. You look normal, so it has to be out of the norm. So, be relevant but out of place. And I'll show you some examples of this soon. Then come as a gift. So genuinely add value and help people, and this will get your ad read and accepted as a gift. So in order for somebody to, with the Trojan horse example back in the day, the enemy thought it was a gift, so they were like, oh, let's take this horse inside. And So, our ad should be like that too. It should actually add value. And we're not really trying to pretend like we are. We should actually, genuinely add value. How do we do that? By solving problems, giving them insightful advice, and, giving them stuff that they can actually use to improve their life and their business without having to click the link in the ad. So that it's actually getting it accepted, getting it read, and people are like, now they're consuming it. Now it's inside the gates. And then get accepted. So ads shouldn't be pattern recognized and judged too soon. And how people pattern recognize and judge really soon is through stereotypes. And you want to disobey the stereotypes. So make sure people can't class you in the same as the same category or stereotype as they do everyone else. That's why it's important to understand what everyone else looks like so we don't look like that. Because that way, we're not getting judged. People are going to take the manual, long process to understand us and then judge us, instead of just snapping to a fast decision. And we don't want to pitch or claim too early. So there shouldn't be like a pitch or a claim in your ad too early, because that allows people to quickly pattern recognize it and reject it. So, you want to try and bury that down a bit further, deeper into the text. Then you want to make your ad long. And this is the text of it. And you don't want to make it long for the sake of being long, because that's stupid, but longer than normal. And this gets buy-in because people have to read through it, and it also gets the read more link. So the read more link is basically, what can I show you as a quick example? So if I just show you this ad example, so you can see here it starts saying the text and then it says see more. So actually it's not a read more link, it's a see more link. And so if somebody wants to read more than what's up here, they have to click see more. Now, when they click this, now they've kind of done a micro commitment to say, I'm interested, I want to know more. And also, they're now deeper into a zone of focus. And so by making longer text ads, we get this see more button, which is a benefit. It helps us. And we're also able to bury the link, bury the pitch and any claims and stuff deeper into the text of the ad, so that only people who are actually interested get the pitch. Because people who are interested are more likely to positively accept the pitch and click it. But people who haven't read really anything and get the pitch or a claim, they're not likely to accept it and complain. And that's step 5, is to bury the pitch. So don't make any claims, pitch, or calls to action until somebody is deep into reading the ad. Just explain that. Then 6, earn respect. So ads that pitch without value, or ads that pitch without giving value, they get rejected. And it's very important to make sure that you add value and help people and earn your right to pitch. And how we do that is by writing a really good ad, by actually adding value, helping people so that, if they pause and spend 5 minutes of their time reading this ad, that they're actually going to be like, wow, that was a good piece of information I just read. Or wow, that's insightful, that's going to change how I do this, and that's going to improve my life. And, you can actually help people without them having to click and all of that. And that's important because, remember, Facebook's algorithm, it's trying to balance things. It's trying to make money from advertisers and get them results. But at the same time, it's trying to look after its users and give them a good experience. And so if you want to play to Facebook's algorithm and how it's trying to balance, you want to try and balance too. You want to try and get customers, and you want to try and get people to take action, and to do that you need to pitch people. But you also need to earn your right to pitch so that you don't piss people off in the process. And you're going to piss people off, but not piss off too many people. You're going to have way more people like it than not like it. That's important. and it's important to earn that respect. And when you create a really good Trojan horse ad, Facebook will love it to bits, and it will just let it go and run with awesome results for years. Honestly, years. One of our ads, one of our Trojan horse ads, has run for 3.5 years straight. I kid you not, 3.5 years, it's made more than $3 million, and it still works to this day because it earns respect, and it earns the right to pitch, and it still does. And then the final one, number 7, is to twist minds. So you want to invert public opinion, counterculture, disrupt order, and leave their heads spinning and be remembered. And why we want to do this is because, a lot of the time our ads, they have a long tail attached to them. And what I mean by this is that someone might see an ad today, they might not click it, they might not read it, or they might read a little bit. But just because they don't do that, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't care about their perception of us. Because, we want to try and get people to click and buy from us today and do the actions we want from them today, but we also want people who don't click to be left with an impression in their mind that they can't get rid of, because then they're going to remember us, and then they're going to be thinking about us all the time, and then they're not really going to know why they're thinking about us all the time. The reason why is that we just broke the conventional patterns in their mind, and so they went to run their pattern recognition to check that all was well and normal in the world, and they found something to be massively out of place to the point that it twisted their mind and they can't stop thinking about it. But they don't know why they can't stop thinking about it. But they are. And then when humans think about something a lot, they assume that it's important. When someone thinks about something again and again and again, they have this bias that, this must be really important because I'm thinking about it a lot. And I think about the things I think about a lot are important, regardless of the context of why they were thinking about a thing. So now they think it's important, and they're thinking about it, and now they see another one, and bam, you're good. You're good to go. So you're doing work for the future as well, and you're laying, you're sowing seeds for future harvests by doing this properly. And this is what creates a really, really good ad, a true Trojan horse ad. And that's how it works in theory, but what does one actually look like in practice? So I'm going to show you some Trojan horse ad examples, and specifically, I'm going to show you 5 of my all-time best performing Facebook ads, and all of them have made more than $1 million each and worked for 6 to 12 months minimum. One of them has worked for 3.5 years and has made $3 million. So let's take a look. This is called Trojan Horse Ad Examples, and it's a resource available for download beneath this video in the resources section. And Facebook ad number 1 is one of our best ones of all time, and we call this one Reflections. And the headline says, "Reflections on Reality: 3 strange concepts that made me 20 million by age 27." And then it starts off, "Never aim for your goal directly, always move in angles. This defies basic human logic because most people believe that if they want to make some money, they should try and make some money. And most companies that aim to just make some money really make any money. And this is because money derives from value and value derives from helping people." And so this is a Trojan horse ad because, first of all, the headline is Reflections on Reality. That's not normal. And then 3 strange concepts. That's not normal. Right, so it's pattern, it's not able to be pattern recognized, and then it also, though, includes some money, which can help. If you can get away with including a claim of a little bit of money, this is very hard to do, by the way. The times have changed, and the preferences on the internet have changed with advertising. it's pretty much impossible to get a financial claim in a headline anymore. So you probably can't do that. But if you can, I mean, it can work great. And if you're not in a niche that does, helps people make money, I mean, this would be weight loss or getting a relationship or doing yoga, whatever the thing is that you're helping people achieve, this is where it would say that. And then up the top in this ad, there's no talk about a claim, there's no talk about making money or an offer or a call to action. Instead, what I tell people to do is move in angles. And that's like, what? How the hell do you move in an angle? You mean you want me to walk like horizontally everywhere I go? Really? So it's kind of just gets your attention a bit. And then, people who believe they should make some money should try to make some money. And I'm saying that people who aim to do that don't make any. And so now I'm inverting this public opinion, right? I'm just twisting it right upside down. Because a lot of people who want to make money try to make some money. And I'm out here saying that, that's not how you do it. I'm just turning it upside down, basically. And so that's what I was saying before, like inverting public opinion, and it's a great way to get attention and to get engagement. And you can see this ad's had like 300,000 almost likes, 3K comments. It's had 9,000 shares. I think this ad's made like $2 million or something. Maybe it's made more, but last time I checked it was 2 million. And I've included this, the headline and the body copy, and you'll see this body copy is long. Like it is all of this is long. And then, so I do a big intro piece to it, and then I actually give advice. Like I actually start teaching some stuff in here. So the first one I teach people is the self-illusion, the second one is the mirror, and the third one is patterns of existence, and each one of these is an actual full thing, like I teach quite a lot in here. And then after that, I basically say, I hope this helps you on your journey. So I'm like actually providing information that helps them. And then I turn it around and I say, did you find this post valuable? If so, I have good news. I put together a free training here. So I basically just tacked on at the end of it, this is a helpful post, which could be a blog post. And then I just tacked on at the end, did you find this valuable? And if someone's like, yes, then it's like, if so, I have good news. And so you can see how I'm kind of earning the right to pitch. Because if they didn't find it valuable, they'd be like, did you find this post valuable? They'd be like, no. And then they'd be like, I say, if so, I have good news. If not, then I wouldn't have good news, right? And they'd probably just be able to ignore this. So I'm only if someone finds value in this, am I really saying that they should pay any attention to what I've got? And then I give them the free training, and then you can see there's a claim down here. But it's buried underneath a lot of text, and all of this text is interesting, it's abnormal and unusual, and it actually adds value and it actually helps people. So that's a true Trojan horse ad. This is like another one. This one here I say, 9 millionaire consultants were created with this advice, ignore at your peril. So it's kind of interesting, especially with that image there, with like a boat and stuff in the background. And then, you can see again, it says see more. And I talk about these three things. Then how a 26-year-old punk started a consulting business in his parents' garage, moved to Manhattan, and made $10 million in 4 years. So this one's old because I'm 29 now, and I ran this back when I was 26. And it ran for about 2 years, and it made more than $2 million. And, this one was a really good ad. And it's basically a story, but it looks like news. It looks like it's a news article or something. And with the image, it works really well too. And there's the body copy and the headline and everything. And then, how did these 9 entrepreneurs make 7 figures and get on this private jet? There's another good one. But one of my best, I think this is the all-time greatest ad of all, this is the greatest ad of all time that I've run. and it's just called Advice for Consultants Struggling to Get Clients from a Consultant Who Has Too Many. This one's made more than 3 million and it's run for more than 3.5 years. This one crushes it. And it's because it just provides really good advice. It's like a Trojan horse ad where I give people advice by saying, generalism, you shouldn't be a generalist. You need a predictable way to get clients, generate appointments, and you need a predictable way to convert appointments into clients. And it just adds value. So that is the Trojan horse Facebook ad examples swipe file. It's available for download in the resources beneath this video. The best use of the Trojan horse strategy is the reflections one by far. This one is a killer ad. Still runs really well. It gets 10 out of 10 on the quality score even after like years, and it just still crushes it. It's a beast. And I also have some other examples of some Trojan ads. Got them here. Load these guys up. So this one here, this is real Trojan, right? And what we did is we actually didn't even put a headline and we didn't even run a normal ad. As you can see here on this ad, there's no headline, right? If I was to look at a normal ad, it would look like that, right? It would have a headline, and then the image would be like rectangle, landscape. That's what an ad looks like. So if we're using a Trojan strategy, a true Trojan strategy, then we shouldn't try to look like that. And so instead, we didn't. No headline, nothing. And then if you click the image on an ad, you usually go to the landing page. If you click this image, it just opens up the damn image, which you might think is kind of counterintuitive. Like, why would Sam do that? Does he just want people to click the image and not have a headline? Well, it works. Like, not all the time, but it's something you should test because it's a Trojan horse ad. It looks like a post from a friend. This is coming from Sam Ovens, image of me, and then, in a photo. And towards the end, there's a link to the actual, that's our call to action. So this is how you can make it an ad. It's basically a post, and then we include the link deep in the text, it's buried, and then we use no headline or anything. So this gets under the radar, and it gets accepted as a true Trojan strategy. And you can do this by just creating, first of all, an organic post. So you can go to your fan page and you create an organic post, and towards the end of it you put the link in, and you make sure that you delete the link preview if it pops up. Now, this might be hard for you guys to understand, so let me just give you an actual example. So I have to go to my actual, I'll just do this on my personal page. But if I go to paste in this link here, right? It just pops up here. See how it's pulling in this link preview? This is called a link preview. You just get rid of that. And then you get rid of this here too. Get rid of that. And then you just add a photo or a video. And what you're trying to do is have an image post, but then you can have the link within the image. You can have the link deep within the ad text. And then that way, you do it organically first on your Facebook fan page, and then it looks like a normal post, but it's got a link in it to the landing page. And then what you can do is you can use that ad, you can use that post ID as an ad, or you can boost that post, and then you can find it in your ads manager, the boosted post, and you can copy that and you can actually put it into another one of your campaigns so that it's not just a boosted post. You can then just use that for targeting whatever you want. That's a really good strategy. Here's another Trojan horse ad, and this one is about as Trojan as it gets. There's a video of a Black Panther and then me, and it's like the most random thing in the world that you've ever seen. And so this doesn't look like an ad, and it doesn't even have a damn headline again. And this one's kind of pushing it, to be honest. Like it it really pushes it a bit, but it's kind of relevant because I actually have a way to talk about Black Panthers this in this ad, and make sense of it. So remember, you want to be out of place but relevant. This Black Panther's certainly out of place, but it does have relevance, and so it works. It works really well. It's a nice Trojan strategy. And then here's another one, and this one was just a photo of me and my parents. And so look at me there. I just look like just a normal person eating a burger and some chips. I do not look like a successful businessman or somebody that's going to say that they're holding a webinar, right? It's really this photo wasn't taken for the purposes of being in an ad. I was actually just hanging out with my parents eating a burger, and then someone took a photo. And then later on, someone else got that photo and used it in an ad, and it worked. And so this is what I'm talking about. You can find these sorts of ads, and they work really well, because this is the sort of stuff people see on Facebook, and they like clicking on, because it's people eating, and it's family and smiles, and there's no headline, right? So it's Trojan, and if you click on it, it just pops up the image. And then it starts off by talking about how to retire your parents to St. Lucia. It doesn't start talking about how to buy 50 Lamborghinis and 10 helicopters and 19 Rolexes. It does really the exact opposite of that. But what's good about it is that it still gets to make the claim and everything, and it still gets to give a call to action link, but it just does not look like, and it's not perceived, and it's not received anything like an ad. And this is the trick and the art to Trojan horse ads, to not look like an ad. The more it doesn't look like an ad, the better. But remember, it still has to have some soldiers in it. Like, if the Trojans just created the Trojan horse and made a big, nice horse for for the enemy to accept, then they would have accepted it, put it inside their gates, and nothing would have happened. So remember that they had to load soldiers inside it. And the same way they had to put soldiers in their horse, you have to put soldiers in your ad. And your soldiers is your call to action and your pitch. It has to be there, and it has to be strong. You don't just want to have a horse with nothing in it. Remember, it's about achieving that balance. Keeping people happy on the platform, but also being aggressive enough so that you get people to take action and you get customers. Trying to strike that balance. Now, when you do this, here's how you influence the system. So when you have engaging ads, so let's say you input your ad and Facebook's algorithm runs its processes, it chooses who to give it delivery to, and then people see it, like it, click on it, and whatnot. That's the output. Then that's going to come back round through the feedback mechanism and change the ad and its future. And when the feedback comes through the Facebook algorithm and you're using a really engaging ad, let's say you're using a Trojan horse style strategy with a really good ad, well, your quality score is going to look like 9 or greater. Now, in order to have an ad that works, you really need to be a 6 or above. If you're below 6, your ad ain't relevant, and you need to make it relevant. And at 6, it can start to work, but if you want something that's really going to work, it needs to be 9 or above. All of those ads I showed you were 10. Like, Reflections has been 10 for forever, 3 years. We've never seen it at 9. So that just gives you an idea of the sort of relevance, quality score you need to be at to get to get things good. You know you've got a good ad when it's a 10. And you know you've got a good ad when your CTR link, and I mean CTR link, not the normal CTR, is greater than 1%. And you know your ad is good when it's got balanced 50-50 comments. Like 50% of the people are for it, 50% are against it, and now they're starting to fight each other and attack each other and argue with each other, and you don't have to step in and do anything, right? You just let it happen. Best to stay out of it, best to let them do it. And by them doing it, they're helping your ad, which is all we really care about, and that's how it works. And so when the Facebook algorithm sees a quality score, a relevance score of 9 or 10, and when the algorithm sees a CTR of greater than 1, and when it sees the sentiment of the comments that they're both for and against and balanced 50-50, it's like, oh, this is good. Let's give this thing an advantage. So if you can signal these things to the Facebook algorithm, it's going to then have a bias towards showing your ad to more people, and it's going to show your ad to more people. It's going to give you more reach. It's going to give you a higher quality of traffic. It's going to give it to you at a better price, and it's also going to give you advantage and preference over your competition, which is how you win. And so this is how we play to the algorithm's biases, by understanding how it thinks and then playing to that. And engaging ads is at the heart of this. So now let's talk about something called lexical sentiment bias. So precognition. So Facebook's algorithm knows the content people like and don't like without people seeing it and providing feedback. And it has records of all liked and hated posts and the text contained in them. So most people don't understand this. Facebook's got saved perfectly in its databases and warehouses and things every single post that's ever existed on Facebook, ever. Even if it was deleted, even if it was removed, they've got record of it. Within those posts are words. And it can pattern match things. It can look at, hey, this post was really hated and caused a big ruckus, and it contained these words. And hey, look, this post was really loved, and it went great, and it contained these words. So if you create a post that has word patterns that the negative one had, it's not good news. And if you create a post that has word patterns that the positive ones used, it is good news. So Facebook isn't, this is how complex this thing is, but it's fascinating to understand. Is Facebook's algorithm doesn't have to wait until humans click and give feedback and comment and whatever. It can forecast how it's going to go before a human's seen it, just based on the words within it. And so, there's things that we can do to make sure that the words within our ad are things that Facebook likes, and we don't include words that Facebook doesn't like, so that we can get a further edge everywhere. And how Facebook's algorithm does this is with something called a lexical sentiment analysis. And lexical sentiment is the view or attitude a human will likely take based off a combination of words. So if I'm a human and I read a bunch of words, then I'm going to have a feeling, or I'm going to have an image in my mind that creates a feeling and a reaction and a response. And lexical sentiment is understanding what combinations of words create what sorts of responses from a human being. And that's how it works. And I'll show you, examples of this soon. And then there's trigger words. And trigger words are words perceived as bad, such as make money, or anything anti-religion, or religion-oriented at all, because, that's kind of a trigger point for Facebook. Like, you can cause a big ruckus if you talk about religion. and then hate speech and racism, all of these things, right? Like if you go and put a post like that on the internet, like that will cause a ruckus, and Facebook they're watching out for those things in a big way. And obviously, like, none of us are going to create ads that do that, but sometimes we can accidentally trigger the wrong thing just by saying particular words, because remember, the algorithm isn't perfect. It can't understand if something is actually bad or not, like in the ultimate reality. It just uses heuristics to make roundabout like assumptions and guesses and judgments that are true most of the time, but obviously they get things wrong sometimes. And these trigger words, you want to avoid using them at all cost. And if you do use them, Facebook will likely disapprove the ad, ban you, and your time on Facebook will be short-lived. But then Facebook's algorithm, what's fascinating about it is it has a happiness bias. So Facebook's algorithm can tell if a post or an ad is negative or positive based on its words, based on the words within it. It can read those and be like, oh, this is happy, or oh, this is negative. And the algorithm has a bias towards positive content because it wants its users happy, not sad. And this is a no-brainer. Facebook, what do they want? They want users on their platform and they want them engaged. Now, if you want users to be on your platform and happy and engaged, like you want them to be happy, not sad. So obviously, Facebook's algorithm has a bias towards serving positive content over negative. It's going to serve more happy content over sad content. And if something's super happy, it's going to really serve that to a lot of people. And if something's negative, it's not going to serve that. Or if it does, it's going to serve it in low doses, and then it's going to stop serving it completely. So how do we make our ads more happy? So hacking happiness. So you want to take your winning ad angles and copy-paste the text into a lexical sentiment analysis tool to see its score. And then what you want to do is change words to increase happiness without changing the core message. Now this will kind of blow your mind. It's pretty cool. And I'll show you how it works. I've included a lexical sentiment analysis tool for you, and the link is on the screen, consulting.com/lexical-tool. And you want to use this free tool to analyze the sentiment of your ad angles by copy-pasting their text into here. So let's take a look at this. So this is what this tool looks like. Pretty simple. And you can enter words here, select your language, and then click Analyze. So if I put in the word, say, love, and then analyze it, it's going to say, or if I put in, it's fascinating to see what combinations. So love actually comes up neutral. But if I put in like laugh, positive, right? So it's quite fascinating to see how this tool judges whether something is happy or sad based on the words or the combination of words. And then if we put in something like hate, obviously it's going to be negative, right? And so we don't really use this for individual words. I put in individual words so I could show you how it works. What we do is instead we put in combinations of words. So let's grab one of these angles here. So this is probably one of the best ads I've ever run of all time, and it's called Reflections on Reality. And let's grab the body copy here. Let's grab all of it and see how it works. Now hold on, this is probably going to grab that copy too, which is going to be annoying. This is going to be very annoying. So instead, let me just find it here. This will allow me to copy it without grabbing all of that. So I'm just grabbing all the body copy here, all the way to the end. And I go copy, and then I paste it, right? A ton of words. And it analyzes as positive. So 0.6 pos, neg 0.4. So this probably plays in a huge way into this ad angle and its success. You know, if you're really wanting to get an ad angle that's positive, and you don't want to have an ad angle that's negative, and if your ad angle is neutral, that's all right, but you want to try and make it positive. And they will do better when they're positive. One, because humans like being happy, and also the algorithm likes it when humans are happy, and if you make humans happy and you make the algorithm happy, then you really, get the whole machine to start dancing. Now, it's important not to just write a really happy, feel-good ad with no intention or no call to action. You still have to have a call to action, and you still have to be aggressive enough in order to, to make your point and, get people, get people motivated enough to click and take action. But you can still leave people feeling happy. Now, if you get an ad, let's say we put in an ad here and it's coming up negative, then we want to start going through here and looking at words that aren't really that positive. And we want to start changing them. Like, we want to start removing negative words, and we want to start rewording things to be more positive, rewording negative sentences, and, we want to try and put more positivity into things, right? So we want to adapt it. Now, the best place to start with this is to find your already winning, proven ads, because we know those work. We know they are your best ads. And so we want to grab the copy from that, paste it in here, and then make it better. And then take that back to Facebook, create a new ad, and compete them head to head. Compete your already proven winning ad versus the sentiment modified, winning ad, and watch the difference. So that's how it works. And it's a very cool tool. And, Facebook's algorithm absolutely is doing this, and it absolutely has a bias towards these things. And it's actually very simple technology that really, fuels this. This has been around for a long time. It's not like NASA stuff. But it goes deeper than that. I've also created a list of lexical happy and sad words. So the 100 most happy and the 100 most sad words in the English language in order. And you want to avoid the negative words, and then you want to use the positive ones. So let's take a look. So this is available for download beneath this video in the resources section. It's called Lexical Happy and Sad Words. And these are the 100 most negative sad words in order, with terrorist being the absolute number one. This is the most negative word you can possibly use, followed by all these other words. Don't really encourage you to read through this list here because it's pretty bad. I'm showing you this so that you do not include these things. And, some of these words are, some of these words you can see how you can use without really being aware of what you're doing, like robbed or, hated or painful or hurt or depressed or cried, suffering. Like, some of these words are, you could use them in an innocent way without really thinking about it, but, you could really hurt your ad by doing so. So you want to try to avoid all of these because they are the most strong signals of negativity. And then here's the 100 most positive happy words in order, with number one being laughter, more than happiness, which is fascinating, more than love. So, you want to try using these words. Now, you're not trying to keyword stuff your ad and making it stupid. Remember I said you want to start with an already proven winning ad and just slightly modify it. Just see if you can fit in a few more positive words, see if you can remove some negative words, and improve its sentiment score in the tool I gave you, which I've linked to up here as well. So that you can copy paste your ad angle in, make sure it doesn't have any of these, make sure you can put in some of these, bump up that sentiment. And then I've also included things that trigger Facebook's red flag, and don't use words relating to these things. So when you include words that relate to certain things, Facebook, it flags you, and it like red flags your account. And it will either just ban your ad, it'll ban your entire ad account, or it will just flag your account and throttle your delivery of impressions and reach and things. Now, I don't have the exact list of all the actual words, but what I do have is a list of the things it really doesn't like. So like, don't promote MLM or get rich quick or make money from home, etc. And don't promote weapons or stuff related to weapons, right? Don't break the law, don't be offensive, no spam, don't promote illegal things. And don't promote adult products. So you can kind of use your common sense about words that relate to any of these things. Because words that are going to relate to any of these things are going to be trigger words. And trigger words, forget about your sentiment analysis just being positive or negative. Trigger words will just get your ad flat out, it won't get approved. And even if it does get approved, it'll just get your ad eventually disapproved, and it might cause your whole ad account to come down. So avoid the trigger words, and then increase your sentiment and positivity with more positive, less negative. And you got the tool and the resources to do it. And when you improve the sentiment of your ads, you're going to get when you input your ad into Facebook, it's going to run a quick process on it, and it's going to determine the sentiment very quickly. It's going to be like, is this positive or negative? It's going to be positive, and that's good. If it's negative, it's not good. If it's neutral, it's okay, but obviously positive has a big advantage. But not just is it positive or is it negative, there's a scale. The more positive it is, the better. If something is more positive than something else that's still positive, Facebook's algorithm will give preference to the thing that's more positive. And then it's also scanning for trigger words. Does it have trigger words? If it does, it's going to, decline. It's going to disapprove your ad before it has even had a chance. And if it doesn't, it's going to pass it and it's going to let it go. Right? So you want to make sure the algorithm is receiving these signals so that you can have a preference and an advantage when advertising. Now let's talk about something which is kind of spooky. And this, if the lexical didn't blow your mind, this thing's going to blow your mind. Graphical sentiment bias. Most people don't know you can do this thing. Or most people have absolutely no idea this thing is even doing this thing and is capable of this thing. So let's see what it does. Precognition. So Facebook's algorithm knows the photos people like and don't like without people seeing them and providing feedback. And it has records of all liked and hated posts and the photos contained in them from all time, even ones that have been deleted. Everything that's ever been put onto Facebook, it has warehoused and tagged. And so, unlike words, words are easier because Facebook's algorithm can just look at the words and it can find, hey, these words were here, these words are there, so it's probably like this. But with images, it's harder because, images don't contain words. But what do they contain? They contain pixels and objects and things. And so Facebook's algorithm can actually run like image recognition, and it can find, objects within images. And if it runs like a nearest neighbor sort of algorithm through its database of all posts and images of all time, it's looking for images that look like this image or images that contain objects that this image contains, and whether those images and the posts containing those images were positive and well received by the audience, or negative and hated by the audience. And if your images contain objects like the positive ones, then you're good. You've got an advantage. And if your images contain objects that were like the negative ones, you have a disadvantage, right? That's how it works. Most people have no idea that the algorithm can look at the images. It absolutely can. It's been doing it forever. How do you think when you upload a photo, it can detect somebody's face? You know, like that's the start. I mean, it's pretty advanced. It can detect a face. So if you upload an image, it'll find the people in it and it'll tag them. And also, if you upload an image with text on it, you know, Facebook knows when there's an image with text on it. It has the 20% text rule. And so it's obvious that Facebook's algorithm is scanning the images. But what it can see is the question. And that's what I'm going to show you in here. Not only what it can see, but what it likes. So what things that it can see in images does it like? So how can we give it those things? And image recognition. So Facebook's algorithm scans images and detects the objects, scenes, and emotions in them. And graphical sentiment is the view or attitude that a human being will likely take based on a graphical combination. So based on, you know, a bunch of pixels and a human looking at those pixels, will the human respond positively or negatively? If positive, then the sentiment is positive. If negative, the sentiment is negative. And this is how it works. And so that is the graphical sentiment. And really it can detect so much more than that. Not just is it negative or is it positive. It can detect a huge amount of things. So here's one of the ads that, you know, I'm running. And when Facebook's algorithm really assesses this image, it can detect faces like my face and my wife Ashley's face, and it can also detect that there's humans. So first of all, it might detect that there's two people in here. Then it might detect the sex. Well, it doesn't might, it actually does detect sex. One male, one female, two humans, and then it can detect the rough age range with pretty good accuracy, 25 to 34. It can tell if there's kissing, and it can tell if it's outside or inside. It can tell what a beach is. So here's a beach. It can tell what nature is. Nature is a category containing things within nature. So if one of these is true, nature is true. And then it can form a sentiment from the overall combination of images. And the sentiment could be happy, neutral, or sad, which is positive, negative, or neutral, right? And there are things that Facebook's algorithm likes. Not just, it likes happy sentiments, but it also likes certain objects, which is fascinating. So Facebook's algorithm has biases towards objects in images. And so we want to play to those biases. But, you know, I want to back up what I'm saying, because I'm sure some of you are like, does it really do this? Like, does it really know how to crawl these images? And Sam, how do I know that it actually does this? Like, can you show me? Well, if you don't believe me, watch this. So, I have on my screen here my mobile phone, right? So I've hooked it up to my computer, and if I show you on my phone here, I will be able to show you how this thing works. So I'm on my iPhone right now, and I'm using Google Chrome, which is an app for, you know, it's a browser. So Google Chrome on an iPhone. And I'm not using the Facebook app. I'm just going to the Facebook website and I'm logged in, right? And then you can look at any person on Facebook. I'm just going to use my mum here, Ann Ovens. And then you can go to an image, like let's say this image here. And once you've found an image, you can just hold down your thumb on that image. And then, you know, you want to just hold down, and then it should say copy or look up. Then you want to select copy, right? Now, if I just go to a message, like any sort of text, I could go to a notes or a new message, and now I just want to paste what I copied. And I don't think Facebook's aware of this, but I found it. And this is what it's reading in there. This is what the algorithm is doing. And it says image may contain 3 people. So it can detect the number of people. And it's detected one of the person's names, my sister, Isabella Evans. And it can detect that people are smiling. And it can detect that people are standing instead of sitting. And it can detect that somebody is wearing a suit. And it can detect that it is outdoors. So how about that? So that's, that was the one I just showed you. If I go back to Chrome, that was that. So it could detect my dad's suit, 3 people, one of their names, outdoors, smiling. Let's try another one. So let's try this. Copy. This one's found 2 people, smiling, standing, and hat. So it's funny what it can detect, right? It's detected a hat and smiling and standing, but it's detected 2 people. And this is the thing, there was obviously only one person in there, right? But machines are funny. So let's go back and look at it again. So you see there's someone's face in the background there. So even though our human mind, when we looked at it that fast, I don't know if you did, but I didn't really see that face the first time I looked at it. I just saw one. And so that's why when it first pasted it and it said that there was 2, I was like, what, did it make a mistake? But there's actually 2 in there. And so you can see how accurate this thing is. And it even detected my sister's cap, that hat. And what's fascinating about this is that, if you've ever noticed, graduation photos seem to get really, really a lot of likes now and comments. Now, in order for them to get a lot of likes and comments, it has to get a lot of reach. A lot of people have to see it. So how does it know? Because, its algorithm has to detect certain things, right? Now, it can detect things like hats. And if someone's wearing one of these hats, it might help it get a lot more reach, right? And so this is how advanced this thing is. And what I showed you is just an actual way to prove it. And this isn't everything that the algorithm is seeing in here. This is just the things that I can prove to you that it's seeing in here by this example and hack that I found. And you can do that on your own phone whenever you want. And so now that we know that Facebook's actually doing this, we want to play to its biases. So I already explained these things. So just like with lexical sentiment, there's trigger objects. Not trigger words, but trigger objects. And then there's happy objects, and then there's, there's positive objects and negative objects and neutral objects. And trigger objects are objects perceived as bad, such as violence, gore, text overlay, sex, nudity, etc. And you want to avoid using these objects at all cost. And Facebook will likely disapprove the ad, ban you, and your time on it will be short-lived. So don't include things like blood, violence, gore, sex, nudity. It'll detect these things. Like Facebook's algorithm is very good at detecting, nudity and pornography. Do you really think humans at Facebook have the time to check every single image? No way. So they've got algorithms that do a lot of this. And so do most platforms. It's not just Facebook. And it can detect all sorts of stuff. So don't trigger any of these things. Now, happiness bias. So Facebook's algorithm can tell if a post or an ad is negative or positive based on its image. And the algorithm has a bias towards positive objects, scenes, and emotions because it wants its users to be happy. Now, hacking happiness. So you want to take your winning ad images and load them into an image recognition or analysis tool to see its objects and emotional sentiment. And then you want to test new images with more positive objects, scenes, and emotions. So how do we do this? So I've got two tools to show you. The first one is an image sentiment analysis tool. Both of these are image sentiment analysis tools. And you can use these free tools to analyze the objects, scenes, and emotional sentiment in images. So object and scene analysis is the first one, and it's consulting.com/object tool. So let's check this one out first. So this is called Amazon Recognition, and honestly, you don't even really need to try this out. You can try it out if you want. You can just get a free AWS account. You can just create an account. It's free. You don't need to pay any money, and then you can just try a demo. And then when you come here, you can see that you can look at the sample image, and from the sample image, it's detected that there's a skateboard, sport, human, people, right? All of these different things. And what we want to do is we want to upload one of our photos here. So let's say I'll grab this one. So here it's detected human and people, person, face, portrait, female, so it's getting sex, leisure activities. This is an interesting one. Smile, apparel, clothing, head, lingerie, underwear, woman, dress, right? So you can see that it can detect, all these different things from here. And these are the different objects that it might find in an image. But there's another one we can use, which is called emotional sentiment analysis. And this one's consulting.com/emotion tool. And this one, you don't even need a login at all. You can just go to this and then just try this demo. And here, you can use the sample image or you can upload one. So if I upload an image, this time, I will use, I just got to enter in this. And then I'll use this image. So you can see that as soon as it's loaded in, it can detect the two faces, mine and Ashley's, my wife. Now if I click on mine, my response here is happiness. So, there's happiness here, but there's also fear, which is actually interesting, which can be caused sometimes by the glasses. But if you look at me there, it doesn't really look fear, but this is fascinating to see what it's seeing here. Then this one here is happiness, but it's actually reading disgust. And it's probably because of the sunglasses here. So that's why it's fascinating to see what a machine sees sometimes. And that's why sunglasses can really play with it. But let's try a different one, like this. So this one's detected Ashley for happiness, but it's quite blurry. So let me try another one. This one here. This one's got me neutral, and it's got Ashley neutral too. But you know what? These images are actually really blurry because I can see it up here. Because I've tested this one before, and it gives me neutral, and it gives Ashley happy. Let me try one more. This one here, let's see what this finds. Oh, it's not going to find a face in that. And it's also fascinating to check if it's detecting a face. Now this here isn't Facebook's algorithm and what it can see. This is just another tool that can detect things. But it's important to load in some of your proven images and see what the algorithms can see in here. Like you can see from this image, it's detected surprise. And in this one, it's detected happiness. This one's happiness. This one here, it's detecting neutral. And really what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's detecting a face first and foremost, because Facebook, what do people like to see on Facebook? People. What do people have? Faces. So it should detect faces. And in those faces, it helps if it can detect a positive emotion, happiness, surprise, something like that. And then also, you can see the different images, the objects it can detect in here. It should detect human, people, person, face. It should detect these things. Smile as a positive. That's how it works. Now, with these tools alone, we know we want people to be in them. We know we want them to read happy or neutral at the least, not negative. But how can we really take them to the next level? How can we really play to the extremes? Because remember, algorithms like extremes. And that's why I created a list of graphical, happy, and sad objects. Now, these are objects, scenes, and emotional sentiments considered to be happy and sad. And you want to avoid the negative ones and use the positive ones. So let's take a look at this. This is when we're starting to get pretty ninja. So this is a resource, a PDF available for download beneath this video in the resources section. Graphical, happy and sad objects. And introduction, Facebook's algorithm performs graphical analysis on the images in your ads, and it has a bias towards positivity. This means positive ads get priority, more reach, impressions, lower prices, etc. And I've given you the link to those tools again. And here's the positive objects, scenes, and emotions that the algorithm can detect and likes. So you want to try using these. The first one is a big one, and that's humans. It loves humans. So more is better than one, and optimal is one male and one female. And why this is because it's instinct. It's in the human species instinct. If we weren't programmed to like one male, one female, then we wouldn't be alive, because this is the combination it requires for life to exist, right? So, it likes that. Also, when there's a male and a female, females like images of females, and males like images of males. And that's why most females' heroes are other females, and most males' heroes are other males, right? So when you have a male and a female together, you get both sides. So this is quite fascinating. That's why a lot of the ad images you'll see now are me and my wife. Now, faces. It loves faces. If you've got humans in it, make sure that there's faces in it of those humans. Then it likes smiles and other positive facial expressions and gestures. So it just doesn't detect smiles and things. It can also detect, hand signals. So if someone's waving, thumbs up, whatever. And it also likes eyes open and gazing at viewer. So humans are attracted by other humans' eyes and the gaze of their eyes. And so when your eyes are really powerful at pulling other people's eyes into them. And so, your eyes should be open, and you should be staring at the other person on the other side, because when they catch that gaze, they're more likely to look back, because we're programmed to do that. And then another one is babies. Like baby images go nuts on Facebook, and so these things work really well. But, some of you might be thinking, oh, Sam, well, why don't you rent a baby and just use it in your ads? Remember what I told you about telling the truth, right? Don't let any one of these things, like all of these things are interconnected. So remember, engaging ads tell the truth. So if we're just trying to hack engagement by including a baby, but we don't actually have a baby, then we're kind of going positive on one, but we're going negative on another, and it's just not worth it. One of the most important things is to tell the truth. So, I'll try that when I have one. Or I guess I could get a photo of one when I'm hanging out with my friends or something. That could be a way to get one. But that's why I haven't tested one so far. It also likes animals and pets. People love pet photos on Facebook. It loves nature. So it likes trees. Outside, it likes lakes, alpine, mountains, and it likes the sky and all of these things, sunsets. Sky's a huge one. It really loves the sky, especially when the sky is prominent. It also likes sunsets. Daytime is preferable over nighttime, and outside is preferable over inside. So, if you had an image inside and then one outside, the outside one will work better. And I've already said sunset, clear sky, sunny and good weather helps. It can detect the ocean, and it really likes the ocean and mountains and trees and grass. And it likes humans standing, interesting enough. So standing is better than sitting. So, it likes humans standing up. And colors, it likes colors, bright and colorful works. And it also likes tools and objects that are fun, things like bikes, scooters, boats, etc. Leisure activities, right? So these are things that it likes. Now, you might think, why would it like these things? Well, humans like these things. And it likes what humans likes because it's been programmed that way. So that's why it likes these things. And when you think about it, it's kind of common sense, but most people don't think about putting these things in their ads. And you don't want to put these things in so that it looks awkward, but you want them to naturally, you want to just naturally get photos in these sorts of spots. Nature and outside with humans and faces and things like this. And here's negative objects, scenes and emotions, and you want to try avoid using these. So, no humans, right? No humans is pretty depressing for a human. And so why would you put no humans in your ad image? And then it also doesn't like one human sitting alone. So one human standing but smiling might be good, but one human sitting alone doesn't really like, because you just think about it like that. And then no faces. So if there's a human but there's a face, but that one human is looking away, it doesn't like that. So it doesn't like, humans being there, but the face is looking away. Also, negative facial expressions and gestures, no natural light, no outdoors or nature, and no color or lack of color and brightness. It also doesn't like violence, blood, gore, war, weapons, gambling, drugs, smoking, and it also doesn't like text overlay or text included in a frame of the image. So even if you've got text showing in the image, in the background or something, it just doesn't like text anywhere in there. So these are things to include to make your ads work better. Now I've got one more resource, I think, which is top performing ad images. And these are some of my all-time best performing Facebook ad images that play to the biases of the algorithm. So let's check these guys out right now. I actually gave it to you in a cheat sheet. It's called Top Performing Facebook Ad Images. And this is what it looks like. And it's available for download in the resources section beneath this video. So this one works quite well. And you can see it's unique. First of all, it's outside. It can detect alpine. It can detect aircraft. And it can also detect two people smiling, male, female, and dress. And so, this one works well. This one also works well, and it's got sky in it. This one works well because it's got sky, like sky. It also can detect two people, male, female, and it can detect pet, animal, and smiles, happy. Sky, human, male, female, cat, happy. Then this one, sky and ocean, and two male, females, and smiling, happy, outside. Again, male, female, outside, sky, alpine, snow, nature, smiles, happy, right? And then here, two people, male, female, trees, sky, outside, light, happy, daytime, dress, smiles, right? Then there's this one here. It detects sky. It detects animals, one person, and that one. That one does quite well. It's because it's got like animals, and it's also kind of looks weird. And then this one does well. It's outside, one person, smiling face, and then it can detect trees, and yeah, you can see that. And this one also does well. And it's got one person, animal, sky, outside, right? So these are all good ad images. And you can start to see that none of these were posed for a Facebook ad image. This was actually my wedding. This was just a photo my wife wanted to take on a Sunday one day, just randomly. This was when I basically first met my wife ages ago, and we just went on this trip. And then this was just when I was hanging out in St. Lucia. This was actually just us hanging out in Santa Monica, and this was just me hanging out with my cat having an ice block. This was when I was actually just looking at some stuff on my phone and my wife took it. This was when I was just working and then my wife just took a photo. So you can see none of these are really staged. They're normal, and this is what actually happens in my life day to day. And this is what it normally looks like. So they've got the truth element, and they've got outdoors and nature, animals, friendly, male, female, face, human, right? You can start to see why these things probably work. What's fascinating is that none of those things really make me look rich. Like, none of those are me, like, shaking hands with, Tony Robbins, or none of those things are, me with 50 Ferraris in the background, like, or with 10 Rolexes on my arms. Like, they just make me look like a normal person. And this is what I mean by Trojan horse playing. Like, you're looking like a friend's post, and at the same time, you're using humans, faces, male, female combinations. You're using outside, nature, sky. You're using things to get the algorithm to favor you, and at the same time, have a good image so that human beings find it interesting and like it too. So you're playing to both things, and when you do that, you get an edge. And so this is what happens when you use good images. So a graphic sentiment might read, sentiment equals positive in the image. Scale of positivity in the image might be 0.9 out of 1. And then genders might read male and female. And then age range might read 25 to 35. Trigger objects equals pass. So trigger objects might be looking for text overlay, violence score, blood, guns, negative hand signals, things like this. And so this one, if you want to make sure you pass it, male and female, I'm telling you, is the best balance to have if you're trying to reach both males and females. If you're just trying to reach females, then having just female subjects is great. Just trying to reach males, then just male subjects is great. Positive sentiment helps a lot. And the age range, you want to have the age range of the audience you're trying to target too. Obviously, I sell to people from like 18 all the way to like 65 plus, and there's only ever really images of me in it, which is like, and my wife, which we're both like in our 20s. So it still works for people outside of that age range, but you'll find that the algorithm seems to most, latch in on this range. Now that's for many things, not just the images, but the images is certainly a large part of it. Now let's talk about the next bias, which is a financial bias. So Facebook loves money. It needs money to stay alive and grow. It also needs money to satisfy its investors. And Facebook's algorithm has a bias for making money, but it will never take money at the cost of user experience. And so people don't understand this. People think, oh, Facebook just wants money, so why won't it take my money? It won't. Its user experience is more valuable to it than the money. One comes before the other. And money signals. So the algorithm sees money as individual ad set budgets, cumulative ad set budgets within a campaign, cumulative campaign budgets within an ad account, bid prices, average daily spend, average monthly spend, average annual spend, lifetime spend, reliability of payment, which is how many declines has it had, right? These things it sees as money signals. And then it has a money heuristic. So if two advertisers are competing for the same traffic and all things are equal, Facebook's algorithm will go with the advertiser that has the best money signals every time. They get the traffic, they win. And to get an edge with your ads, you want to play to the algorithm's financial bias by signaling the right things. You want to look like money. And so here's how we signal money to the machine. Ad accounts. You should not have spend limits on your ad accounts. You should do your budgets and control your spend at the ad set levels within campaigns. Don't set a spend limit on your ad account. It's not a good signal and it's not necessary anyway. And payment method should be a company, not a person. So make sure you use the Facebook Business Manager. Make sure that your payment method on file, which will be a credit card or a bank account, make sure that credit card is attached to a company. Do not put a personal credit card on that thing. It can tell the difference. It knows that people don't spend a lot of money. It knows that people that spend a lot of money have businesses. So, make sure you do that. And then use a credit card or a bank link, direct bank link, not PayPal. It doesn't like PayPal. Yes, you can use it. It does not like it very much. If someone's using PayPal, someone's using a card, it will choose the one with the card. And if you're using a card, don't use gift cards or temporary cards. Use a proper card, a business card. And make sure you never decline and always pay without any issue. If every time the Facebook machine tries to bill you and it always declines, just like anybody that's going to not trust you, it's not going to like you. So make sure it doesn't happen. We purposefully use bank links, so no cards at all, because cards can decline. Even if there is money, cards can decline because of fraud protection. So we use a bank link so it never fails. And campaigns should optimize for conversions. They should not have lifetime budgets. Like I said, set budget at ad set level. They should have a good history of consistent spend. And you should be spending more than $100 a day. And you should, $100 a day is going to start to get you good momentum. Less than that, it works. But at 100 a day, it starts to work quite a lot better. And, it starts to work really well at 1,000 too. 1,000 a day seems to be where it's highest. Like where it's most efficient, Like above that, it still works great, but like at 1,000 a day, it's really efficient. And that doesn't mean we don't go past 1,000. Obviously, we want to spend as much as we can, but it really likes its efficiency around there. And past 1,000 a day, campaigns have entropy and should be decentralized and load balanced across multiple campaigns separated by ad angle. And I've explained this in previous modules in this week's training. You want to have good architecture. So entropy exists, at a lower scale. So entropy exists at the campaign level beneath 100 a day. So you should try to have your campaigns more than 100 a day. But they also have entropy at over $1,000 a day. So if you're spending more than $1,000 a day in a campaign, split it out. Load balance it across 2 campaigns or 3 campaigns. It's better to have 10 campaigns spending $1,000 a day each than one campaign spending $10,000 a day. It likes to be at that efficiency zone. And that's what good architecture is all about. Ad sets. So ad sets should have a daily budget of at least 2 times KPI to function. Now, KPI is the thing it's optimizing for. So if it's optimizing for leads, if the conversion event is set as leads, and you're getting leads for $10, then 2 times KPI would be $20. 2 times $10 equals 20. That's where it's going to, to really start to function its best. It will actually start working at 1 times KPI, but not very well. 2 times KPI is when it's actually going to start working properly, and then it's going to be most efficient at 10 to 15 times KPI. So 10 to 15 times the cost per lead if you're optimizing for that, which would be 100 to 150. That's when it really starts to sing. And you're going to experience entropy at the ad set level at less than 2 times KPI and greater than 20 times KPI. So beware of these zones. Stay out of these, stay within these if you want maximum efficiency from your ad sets. And stay above 100 100 and beneath 1,000 if you want maximum efficiency here, right? And never change the budget or settings of an ad set. If you want to make changes or budget changes, duplicate it and make the changes in the new clones. Don't disrupt the initial conditions of the existing ad set. It's not a good idea unless you absolutely have to. Like if you have to turn something off, you can turn it off, but it's best not to make any changes in existing stuff. Now, bids. For the most part, bids should be auto for cold traffic. So you're setting those to auto. And warm retargeting and anything to do with conversion objective campaigns. And for hot retargeting, you can use daily unique reach and bid manually at higher prices to win auctions. So if you really want to, signal money to the machine and get preference in auctions, then we want to only really do that to an extreme level when we're retargeting to hot audiences. So in our hot retargeting campaigns, when we're advertising to people who are deep within our funnel and recent, as in within the last 30 days, then we know they're hot. We want to market to them, so we have to signal. We have to really do something to get our ads in front of them. And to do that, we want to use the daily unique reach objective, and we want to use manual bid, and we want to bid high. And you can try like 150 a day per 1,000 impressions, all the way up to like $1,000 or $999, but that's pretty steep. I mean, most of the hot traffic or hot retargeting campaigns we run with a daily unique reach objective, we're going to be in between 100 and 300 per 1,000 impressions. That's our bid. We won't necessarily pay that, but we'll bid that just to climb the pecking order in the auction pool and make sure we're getting delivery. And spend. Your spend should be as consistent as possible. Ideally, it should be every day without ever stopping. And the algorithm favors consistent spend over time with no spikes or blips. And you want to be consistent, build momentum, and build a solid history. Just like building a history with a bank or somebody lending you money, you want to do this with the machine, with Facebook's algorithm. Make sure you don't decline. Make sure you always pay on time. Make sure you advertise consistently. Make sure that there's no dips and spikes and no question marks. Make sure that you look trustworthy and reliable. And the best way to be trustworthy and the best way to look like you're trustworthy and reliable is to just be trustworthy and reliable, because that looks like that, because it is it. And when you do this, you signal these things to the machine. So when you input a campaign and ad sets and ads and you push them live, Facebook's algorithm is going to look at you and scan it and look for a financial forecast read. And so it might read all the campaigns and all the ad sets within your account for today. Its total threshold spend is about $1,000, right? So it's like, okay, this is how much this person's willing to spend. Now their historical, how far away is their historical from what they're trying to do today? And if it's not too far away, it's like, okay, well, this person probably not only is willing to spend that, but they're highly likely to spend that. Now, if you try to scale from like $100 a day to like 10 grand a day, it just won't even work. There'll be a spend cap on your account at 5 grand. And when you get to that level, you just want to contact Facebook support and they'll take it off for you. You don't need a rep or anything like that to get it removed. But, you can't ramp spend too quickly, because it's going to look at your threshold spend versus your historical spend. And when things are too far apart, it looks sketchy. And it doesn't like that. And you want to make sure that you ramp things up gradually. You can move fast and pretty rapid, but just not, overnight. And it likes consistency over everything. So don't ramp things up and then take things down and do nothing, panic, wait a couple of weeks or a month, then come back and do it again. Keep it consistent. Advertise daily. And then it will look at your bids. So if you're bidding auto, then you're pretty good most of the time because it's like, okay, they're willing to just pay whatever and you're good. When you're doing manual bids, you need to be way better because if you're not bidding enough, you won't get any traffic. And so, yeah, that's why auto bids for most people, unless you're doing hot retargeting in which you use manual and you go high. And then risk. It's going to do a risk assessment on you based on your payment method. It should be credit card, should be business credit card, should be within the business manager. You shouldn't have a history of declining. If you have, make sure you don't decline again. And you should also, not have a PayPal account. And yeah, all of those things you should not have your PayPal account linked to your Facebook. Use the credit card or a bank link. And if these things look good, then the algorithm is going to give you an edge in the auctions. It's going to give you more reach. It's going to give you better traffic at better prices. It's going to give you preference in everything. Another edge. Now let's talk about consistency, momentum, bias. So Facebook loves consistency. It views it as reliability and trustworthiness. Two things it cares about greatly. And the algorithm has a bias for consistency, and it rewards consistent advertisers with reach and momentum. Now, this is fascinating because it's kind of like the same way human beings build trust. Like, why do we trust, certain people? Well, think back. It's because we've just been exposed to them over a long period of time with a lot of impressions, right? That's really what serves trust. And its familiarity and consistency and reliability, these things form trust. Same with the algorithm. It views things like that. So when you're advertising consistently over time, you're really going to get a higher trust and it's going to favor you. Now, consistency signals. What inputs tell the algorithm to, perceive trust or distrust? So the algorithm sees this as consistent use of ad accounts, fan pages, domains, landing page URLs, landing page content, ads, audiences, campaigns, conversion events, ad spend, etc. And the consistency heuristic. So if two advertisers are competing for the same traffic and all things are equal, the algorithm will go with the advertiser with the best consistency signals every time. And they get traffic and they win. And to get an edge with your ads, play to the algorithm's consistency bias by signaling the right things. So how do we signal consistency to the machine? So your fan page. You want to use one fan page consistently. So don't use all these different things all the time. Don't look like a spastic. Just use the same one consistently. And then you want to pair its relationship to an ad account. So you want to use one ad account and one fan page together because that's what normal looks like to the algorithm and it likes it. So do it. And make sure that your fan page has more than 5,000 followers. And if it doesn't, run a likes campaign to get more than 5,000. It has some sort of trust thing at 5,000 followers, so if you don't have that, get that. And in the Facebook ads training, I show you how to get that. Just look back at one of the previous modules. And then you also want to post organic content on your fan page daily. Just share posts and things like that. And this shows that it's being used. And also build it up as an asset with photos, videos, and posts, etc. over time. That's what makes a fan page consistent and trustworthy. And an ad account. So you want to use one ad account and use it consistently. If you constantly use different ad accounts and they have relationships to the same fan page, it will decrease trust in the fan page and any new ad account that touches that fan page. It can be contaminated. So keep it clean. And then verified domains. Verified domain, singular. So make sure you verify your domain name with Facebook and then use that domain as the CTA link in all of your ads. And this signals trust to Facebook and it will give you preference in auctions. So a lot of people don't know how you do this. Let me show you on the screen right now. So if I go to my business manager, and I'm going to go to, what was I doing here? My domain, got to go to my business manager settings, and then I want to go to brand safety down here on the left hand side, domains. And you can see here I have two domains, samovens.com and consulting.com. And these are verified, right? So you want to click add domain, put in your domain name here, and then just follow the instructions and verify it. And then when you've verified it, you've increased your trust for this. So now, Facebook, it knows that this domain is good. Then you want to make sure that the links that you use in your ads are on this domain. Now I have both in here, but we only run ads from this. We only run our ads from consulting.com. Stick to one domain, stay on one domain. It makes life a lot easier. The moment you use a different domain, it's nightmare. Like cookies don't travel across domains, and so you lose a bunch of tracking and stuff there. Also, Facebook doesn't like it when you use different domains. So use one main domain. And then the link that you put in your ads for the call to action that goes to your landing page, that should be on this domain. Like our domain that's verified is consulting.com. The landing page URL we use is consulting.com/webinar, right? Now, another thing you want to do is always use HTTPS. Always use the secure HTTPS instead of HTTP. This makes a difference. So if you don't have a SSL certificate on your landing pages and your website and stuff, then you should get one. I recommend just using Cloudflare. It's the easiest way. It's free and it's simple. You can do it pretty much immediately. And then make sure that your landing pages and your website can only work on HTTPS. Prime example, if I go to consulting.com without putting in the HTTPS or anything, it will go to HTTPS. It's impossible to go to a non-secure version of this, right? That's important. Why? Because Facebook's algorithm uses 2 pixels. One is a pixel for non-HTTPS sites. The other is a pixel for HTTPS sites. If you have some landing pages that are not HTTPS and some that are, it's going to cause mayhem. And if you don't use HTTPS and you're just using HTTP for everything, it's not going to work as well. There is more tracking options on HTTPS than on HTTP, and also Facebook has a bias towards HTTPS. So just use HTTPS and verify the domain. Use the same landing page URL. Now, the landing page. So use one landing page and keep the URL the same, and avoid changing anything on your landing page, including split tests, and never use a link splitter or redirect traffic somewhere else, as this throttles your reach. So if you've got lots of different funnels and lots of different landing pages, then maybe you should think about just having one funnel and one landing page into that funnel. We're making more than 30 million a year. We spend more than $1 million a month on ads, and we have one landing page. I kid you not. We've had one landing page for more than 4 years now, and it still works. And we've driven, I don't know how many millions of clicks to that thing, and it still works. So, you want to just keep one consistent one, and then you want to keep that URL the same, because every time you change a URL, Facebook has to earn trust for that URL again. So this is a fascinating thing to watch. If you just have your ads running, and then if you change the content of your landing page, just through ClickFunnels or any landing page tool, your ads stop working as well and your traffic gets throttled. Why? You didn't change the link, you didn't update the link, you didn't do anything. How does Facebook know? Because it has crawlers that crawl your page. Because this is what classic scammers do. What they'll do is they'll create an innocent page, and then they will create an ad that points to the innocent page through a link, right? And then they'll put the ad through and they'll get it approved because it's all innocent, the landing page. And then once it's innocent and it's gotten approved, then the scammers will change the landing page to be the thing they actually wanted to be changed to, which is their scam thing. Now, Facebook has realized this, and whenever there's a change to the page, it freaks them out. Any change, a headline change, an image change, a video change, any change, it can detect it via the HTML. So any change in HTML, which is basically anything, then Facebook realizes there's a change and then it throttles your traffic because it doesn't trust you anymore. Now, it will regain that trust and then serve traffic again, but it takes time for it to do that, and you don't want that to happen because it really hurts your ads. And so if you absolutely must change your landing page, do it. If you must change the landing page URL, do it. But avoid it at all costs. Avoid running split tests. Like, just try to find a page that works and stick to it. And leave everything consistent. Because when you run consistent things over time, Facebook really starts to trust it, and it just starts to build momentum, and it just starts unleashing its powers at you. Because it knows, hey, this guy's willing to spend a lot of money, and this guy also is consistent, and we know we can trust these things. So let's send this guy lots of traffic because we know he wants to pay lots of money, and we know he's good to show to our audience. But when you change stuff around, Facebook ain't going to gamble on you. So there's a huge bias in this. Another one is never use a link splitter. Like, don't redirect traffic or route people through 8 different links. Just use a simple link. Don't redirect it through all of this stuff. It doesn't like that. Conversion events. You want to use 1 pixel. Crucial. You don't need more than 1 pixel. Some people tell me, oh, but Sam, what if I've got 2 products? Shouldn't I create 2 pixels? I'm like, no. Oh, Sam, what if we have 2 different websites? Shouldn't we use 2 pixels? No. Sam, we advertise in 2 countries. One's Australia, one's America. Should we use 2 pixels? No. We advertise in more than 72 different countries. We spend more than $1 million a month. We have been advertising for 7 years. We've made more than $10 million with advertising. We use 1 pixel. We continue to use 1 pixel. And you should only ever use 1 pixel. Anything more is unnecessary and confusing, and you're going to screw something up. So don't. And you want to keep your conversion events consistent. And you want to build the number of conversions on them and continue to use the same campaigns with ad sets optimized for the same events. And you're creating your variation at the ad set level. So yes, you'll be creating new ad sets with different images and different ad angles. Yes, you will be having variation and testing and scaling, but the campaigns will stay consistent. Campaigns can stay. Ad accounts can stay. Fan pages can stay, and same with the conversion objectives. They can stay too. And when you start to build momentum on these things and consistency on these things, the algorithm favors you. And here's what consistency, aka trust, reads with the algorithm. So it might look at fan page trust. Does this thing have likes? Has it existed for a bit of time? Does it have posts and comments and engagement on it? And can we trust it? Fan page trust, high. Account trust, does this account have consistent use? High. Domain trust, is the domain verified with Facebook? And is the ad using that domain that is verified? High. Link trust, high. Is the landing page, got a privacy policy and earnings disclaimer, different things? And does that landing page have enough content on it instead of it just being one of those small things with no information on it? And can we trust it? Have we sent traffic there in the past, and does it remain today as it was when we were sending traffic to it? If so, high. Event history. How many events have fired on these conversion events? Is there history? If so, high. That's how it detects trust. And if you have trust, Facebook will trust you. Simple. Now let's talk about next level tracking. So garbage in, garbage out. Facebook is a system with inputs, processes, outputs, and feedback. To improve Facebook's ability to self-improve and improve, what you want to do is improve the quality of its feedback. And this is done with improved tracking. So, if you're a human, which you are, and, you want to learn more, which you do, then improving the feedback mechanism is dramatic. Feedback, with the absence of feedback, we would never learn. Feedback is what allows us to learn. And so, same with us, the algorithm, feedback allows it to learn more rapidly. It's like X-ray vision. And that's my next point, X-ray vision. So you want to turn on automatic advanced matching for your pixel. And this allows you to track and retarget people who use incognito, ad blockers, ghost mode, Safari, and other attempts to hide their usage. So, how do you do it? Well, you go to your business manager, then you go to your business manager settings, then you go to data sources, which is where your little pixel hangs out, and there's our pixel, consulting.com pixel, which you should have one of. Then you go to the pixel by just clicking up here, and then when you come here, the pixel page should load. It might take a little bit of time, so just click on this, you come here, then you click on settings, and then what you want to do is over here on the right, you can see it says automatic advanced matching. Now yours will be off. Everyone's is off by default. Now do yourself a favor and turn this guy on. And then you want to see all configured parameters, and you want to make sure all of these are on. And here it says use customer provided data from your website to find more conversions, improve optimization, and remarket to more people. That is basically a euphemism to mean see everything, right? Now, how does this work? Well, what it does, so you want to turn this on, by the way, but what it basically does is it allows Facebook to track people based on their inputs on the page instead of just the URL, cookies, and pixels. So let's say someone's got like ad blocker or ghostery or something, or cookies turned off, right? Now most people don't have this stuff on, like most people don't use this, but some do. So if someone's using a ghostery app, an ad blocker, or an incognito window, or any browser that basically blocks tracking, right? Now if someone comes and visits that page, then we're not able to fire a pixel on them, then we're not able to track them. If they opt in, we're not able to track them because we can't fire a pixel. If they purchase, we're not able to track them because we can't fire a pixel. But there's a way. And it only really works, it's quite fascinating how it actually works. When someone clicks on a Facebook ad and then lands on your landing page, there's like a handshake from Facebook over to your landing page, where Facebook hands people over to your landing page. So there's a handshake there where there's a connection. And so if someone lands there, Facebook knows who they are because they just came from Facebook. So they've got them identified there, even if they're not pixeled. Now, if somebody enters in like their email address in a form and registers or purchases or does something where they input information, then on the thank you page, we can't fire a pixel either because we're not able to do that to them because they've got cookies or whatever disabled. But instead, what Facebook does is it reads their email or their input, and then it sends that back to Facebook because we have the Facebook code on our page, and it can crawl our forms, and it can receive the inputs from our forms. And then when it sends that data back, it can search inside the database to see if there's a user account that correlates with that email that was input. And then if there is, then it can assume that that person did that event and it can track it. So pretty ninja shit, as this module is about, and probably why Facebook hides that feature, to be honest. It's pretty buried in there. Kind of like the Trojan horse pitch in that ad. Facebook's buried that one, but you can turn it on, and I'm guessing they've just hidden it because of all the heat they're getting in the media. They probably were excited to roll it out, but then not so excited given the heat. But turn it on, it's good for your business. And there's other ways to get, to different levels of tracking. So tracking level 1 is what most people do. And most people copy and paste the Facebook Pixel and Google Tag Manager along with a dozen other scripts, and then they copy paste that Google Tag Manager code on their landing pages, and this is a bad idea. It's just too heavy. There's too many scripts. And so you want to make sure that you go to at least level 2. And tracking level 2 is when you delete all of the tags out of your Google Tag Manager to reduce the weight. And think about it this way. Every one tag in there is like the equivalent of 1 second of load time. So if you've got a huge amount of tags in there, then you're making people wait seconds. And Facebook hates seconds. It likes speed. And so if you're making people wait, Facebook doesn't like that. And then they're going to punish you. So get rid of your scripts. People think the more scripts they add into Google Tag Manager, the better they're going to do. It's actually the opposite. The smaller number of scripts you have, the better, because the faster your page speed, and page load speed is more valuable than most scripts. Now, you're going to need really only one script in there, which is like your Facebook Smart Pixel. Most people think they have to put Google Analytics in there. Not really. Like, I barely use Google Analytics to do anything. I don't think I've ever made a useful, important decision using things Google Analytics gave me. I can't remember the last time I logged in. So, you probably don't need the stuff you think you need, so get rid of it. Reduce the weight, make it faster. And when it's faster, it'll track better. And if you do need more than one script in there, like if you absolutely do need it, that's all right. But then you want to give Facebook load priority number 1, and you can set the firing sequence in Google Tag Manager, fire Facebook number 1. And then tracking level number 3, which is better again. And you want to ditch Google Tag Manager altogether. Get rid of that thing. And get a developer to install event-based tracking for your site and your funnel. And this allows you to use events instead of URL visits. And events are the future of tracking. The days of URL-based tracking is basically gone. It's turning server-side and it's turning to events. And when you use events, it improves your audiences, the ability for you to create lookalikes. It improves like retargeting audiences. It improves your conversions, your accuracy of your reports, your attribution accuracy. And to show you how it works, I'm going to show you an example of creating custom conversions and audiences based off of events. So we use events, and they're quite a lot better. But if you're just starting out, don't worry about level 3, just get to level 2. And if you're making lots of money, then you can go to level 3. You'll need a developer to help you with it because you have to actually code stuff, right? So it looks like this. If I come here and if I go to our custom conversions, like if I go to data sources, custom conversions, and if I find like one of ours here, like let's say I found webinar registration, and I go to this specific custom conversion. Well, you can see here that, where is the settings for it? Yeah, so I can't actually, oh, maybe I can. No, I don't think I can actually edit this thing. Oh no, I can. Sorry. What I'm looking for down here is you see where it says event landed on thank you page. So it's not using a URL. So if I go to create a custom conversion, normally how this would work is you would select your pixel and then you would fire it on, all URL traffic, and the URL would contain, this URL, like consulting.com/whatever, and then you would name it. But events allows you to go off these custom events, and you can see we've got a huge amount of things, loaded in here. And what this is you would just select like landed on webinar page, and you wouldn't need to select anything else. There's no URLs, because what happens is if somebody lands on our webinar page, it fires that code that sends it to Facebook saying somebody landed on the webinar page. It's an event. It's a JavaScript based event that happens in the data layer of the page. And it's like server-side tracking instead of client-side tracking. It's more accurate. It's the future. It works way better. And it's definitely where everything's headed. It's harder to install. You need like a developer to install it, but it is worth it if you're making lots of money and you want to go to that next level. Also, when you create audiences and do everything, you're basically using events instead of pixels. And you want to ditch those pixels if you want to go to that next level. And when you improve your tracking, you improve your feedback. And the feedback might look like this. So Facebook sees if the pixel is initializing. And initializing means, is it loading? And if the Facebook pixel isn't getting to initialize quickly, then Facebook is going to hate it, and it's going to punish you badly in your auctions and your delivery and your reach. So if it's looking at pixel initialization, yes. Conversion type is events. If you're using events, it favors you over URL based. If your pixel is initializing and it's initializing fast, it favors you. And then hashing, that was that thing I showed you how to install. Like you just turn it on and make sure that you can track, people even if they're using ad blockers and things. That's called hashing. Make sure that's on. It favors it when it's on. And execution, that's like how well set up is the tracking and everything. Like how fast a page is loading, and then how many pixels and weight is on this page. The less the better. How well installed is the Facebook tracking pixel? Is it just in Google Tag Manager, or is it properly embedded using JavaScript events in the data layer? If it'll grade your execution, and better execution gets better results because you look like a more serious operator, and Facebook likes that. So these are ways that you can take it to the next level. Now the final one is an inside man advantage. And the human side of things. So Facebook's algorithm isn't 100% digital. It has major inputs from Facebook employees, so humans. And when you have a strong relationship with somebody inside of Facebook, you can get a massive edge over everybody else. And getting a contact inside. So to get a dedicated account rep at Facebook, you have to spend over $5,000 a day for at least 30 days. And at that point, you should reach out to Facebook support manually and ask them if you have an assigned rep. Because what we noticed happens is that, we had a rep, but we didn't know we had a rep. And then one day we were just talking to Facebook support, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, I can see you've got a rep assigned." And we're like, "What? We have a rep?" And they're like, "Yeah, you've got one." And we're like, "Who are they?" And then we actually reached out to them, and it turns out we had one. So a lot of people who spend more than $5,000 a day and have done so for more than 30 days probably have a rep. They just don't know about it, and you can ask support. if you don't spend more than $5,000 a day for at least 30 days, then don't worry about it. And you shouldn't spend this much money just to get a rep. That would be mindless activity. Just wait until you're there. You don't need one before you're there. Even when you're there, you don't even really need one. We didn't realize we had one for years. So they're not essential, but having one can certainly help. And even if you do spend $5,000 a day for 30 days, that is not like a guarantee that you're going to have one. This is just roughly the kind of zone you need to be at to get one. But it's changing all the time. If Facebook has internal changes or more demand or whatever, then that might change. You might need more than $5,000 and you might need to go more than 30 days. And you can just reach out to Facebook support every 30 days once you're in that zone and see what's going on. And flagged versus whitelisted. So your account can be flagged by a Facebook employee without you knowing. And what happens here is if your ad account, let's say you've got lots of ads, some of them get disapproved, and now some of them get flagged for a human review. I'm sure you see this sometimes, that some of your ads get held, like they don't, like a bunch of them go live, but one of them doesn't, and it's just pending for a long time. Now that little thing that's pending for a long time, the ones that got approved immediately, the algorithm crawled those and just approved them. It was machine approved instantly. But the ones that just get held back, those aren't machine approved. They're not machine rejected. If they were machine rejected, they would instantly be disapproved. That means that a machine can detect trigger words and things in there and it doesn't like it. But if it isn't approved and isn't rejected immediately, then it's queued for human review, which means a human's going to have a look at that thing sometime in the next couple of hours. And if a human looks at it and they don't like it, then it will get disapproved. And they also might flag your account if you have lots of disapprovals. And when your account is flagged, they won't tell you. You won't know. But when it's flagged, you get throttled reach and results, and it's harder to advertise, and you can also have trouble with disapprovals. And reps can get you whitelisted, and this gives you like improved reach and results and less disapproves. And whitelisted is basically the inverse of flagged. And so nothing is fine, flagged is bad, and whitelisted is the best. And so you start your life as nothing. If you get flagged, that's not great, and whitelisted is where you should want to end up. And once you're whitelisted, it means that you've got a lot more trust. And so basically it means an internal compliance at Facebook have reviewed your thing, they've approved it, they know you're not really sketchy or political or selling scams or whatever, and you're good to spend quite a lot, and they're more lenient on you with all sorts of things. And then ad approvals. So sometimes ads are auto-disapproved by a machine even though they're fine. And you should appeal these and try to get them through. And sometimes you have to provide evidence, etc., through the approval process when you're chatting with a rep. Or when you're chatting with a Facebook support person. You don't need a rep to appeal your ads. And if you think your ads are fine, truly, and you're not breaking any rules, you should appeal them. And quite a lot of the time, your appeals will get approved, and then you can run those ads that were originally rejected. And reps can get you approved more often. They can get your appeals approved more often, and they can also whitelist ads, which stops them from ever getting caught in the disapproved section. Once they've been whitelisted once, you can use it again and again and again, and it won't get disapproved. And private betas and info. So when you build rapport with a Facebook rep, they'll give you inside info about disapproval reasons, so why your ads got disapproved, and they'll also give you info on glitches, bugs, and outages, so you know what's going on with your account or faulty reporting, whether it's Facebook, whether it's you, whether it's whatever. And they can also give you info on internal preferences. So, what Facebook's going to be favoring more or less, what Facebook's going to be concerned about more or less. And so you can kind of get a gauge of the internal political wins and compliance wins inside the Facebook machine. And you can also get access to private betas for features that other people don't have. And, we've had these with Facebook, with our rep, which have been awesome, and also Google reps over with AdWords and YouTube and stuff. And so our media buying team builds a strong relationship with our reps at Facebook and Google, and it's worth it because we do get actual advantages, and this in turn, these advantages signal inputs to the algorithm, and then the algorithm gives us better advantages. So there's some ways to get an edge over the competition through having an inside man that can push buttons for the machine. And this is something you want to do when you're spending in this range. And this is a form of input. So it could look like this: client privileges. Managed account equals yes or no. So, is this advertiser managed? If yes, then they're probably higher value, and they're probably better clients to us, more valuable clients. So this can help. Flagged equals, it might have none, which is normal, which is fine, or it might be red, red flag, which is negative, or whitelisted, which is the best, which means this is the best signal you can have. And then the threshold. So threshold might be at what, up to what limit will we tolerate, disapprovals or negative feedback pieces on things. And if you've been whitelisted and you're managed, then you've got a higher threshold for things like disapproval ads and things like that. And it's much less likely that your ads and your ad account are just going to get shut down. So it gives you a higher threshold and a higher tolerance to operate within, as well as advantages. And then it might look at your access and see that you have access to a private beta or different things, and it might give you those features and unlock advantages for you as well. So that's how you can improve things with an inside man or woman. Now let's talk about creating the perfect storm. So we've talked about a bunch of different things, and the perfect storm is when we combine all of these things and we really take them to the extreme. Because any one of these things on their own will give you an edge. All of these things together, on top of a really good ad, on top of a really good funnel, and on top of a great product and offer, comes just a monumental advantage that will just absolutely annihilate the competition. And so we've covered all of these things. It's been a journey, but we've covered the engagement bias. So, creating an ad that gets attention and it gets engagement. And we want to use the Trojan horse method for this. Then lexical sentiment bias. So we want to make sure that we're using combinations of words that the algorithm likes. So we're trying to get a positive sentiment, and we're also trying to ignore, or we're trying to not include any trigger words and have a positive sentiment. Then graphical sentiment bias. So we're trying to include objects Facebook's algorithm likes: humans, faces, standing, male, female, and smiling, eyes, gaze, and nature, outdoors, sky, pets, animals, things it likes. And we also want to make our stuff look different. Also, Facebook's algorithm should be able to detect positive emotions: smiles, happy faces, not things that are negative. Then financial bias. We want to look like money to Facebook. And we do this through having consistent spend and having campaigns and ad sets and budgets set at the right tolerances, not too low but not too high, right on the knife's edge of efficiency before entropy sets in. Then consistency bias. We want to build momentum, and we do that through trust and consistency. So we want to use the same fan page. We want to have content on our fan page. We want to have a verified domain. We want to use the same domain again. We also want to use the same landing page link, the same landing page. We don't want to change the content on the landing page. And then we want to use the same campaign shells and the same ad account attached to that fan page, and we want to spend consistently over time. And this gives us momentum and a bias. And then next level tracking. We want to improve Facebook's self-improvement mechanism through improving its feedback. And we do that by allowing Facebook to have X-ray vision by turning on that additional tracking setting under the pixels settings, which is the hashing thing. Turn that on, and then you want to make sure that if you're using Google Tag Manager, that you've stripped it of all of its tags. And if you really want to go to that next level, then you want to install event-based tracking, get a developer to do that, and go server side. And then finally, the inside man advantage. So having somebody at Facebook that you build a relationship with so that you can get whitelisted and get access to features before others don't, get your account managed, and get an edge in the auction pool. Now, all of these things, like I said, on their own are powerful. But when you combine all of them together with a great funnel, with a great offer, with a great product, then you just dominate. And by playing to the algorithm's biases, we get an edge over the competition. We beat them in auctions, we take the best traffic, we get the most reach, and we get it at the best prices. The result? Absolute, worldwide domination. Now, you know what to do, so go put it to work. Go implement these strategies, find your best proven winning ads, make them stronger using these methods, and then go give your competition hell. Because these strategies are seriously next level, and I feel sorry for anybody that has to compete with you when you unleash the power of these strategies on them. So go put it to work.